12, and that for the first hour would be practice, but she's okay to do it whatever way is best.
That's perfect. You're the teacher. Please, Khenmo, you lead us. That's perfect. Thank you.
Tini kimola chi tsuwara wala. Tini chi gande kina gande yaksho yena tini nang chogare la. So tinda yena dampo nyamlin chena tini jela kachu yena digi yorela.
Oh, la tena aso tampo tempa sonrwa.
La sola. So first then we'll begin with the recitation.
Laso tena aso tempa namju na chin chi song na desare.
So just as we usually do the practice, then we can begin.
Okay, so we will begin with daily practice then, Khenmo, correct?
Is there an umse or someone who usually, because she's muted, so
Usually we share. So maybe, Khenmo, would you like to begin with, start us off, please?
chi dampo umse plus.
San je ju dan zo je jo nam la chan jo pa de dan ne je sum je da ge jin so je be so nam je ro la pen je san ro ba jo san je ju dan zo je jo nam la chan jo pa de dan ne je sum je da ge jin so je be so nam je ro la pen je san je ro ba shu san je chu dan zu je shu nam la jia jo ba de da ne jia sum je da ge jin so je be so nam je ro la pen je san je ro ba shu nam ga dan nyam be sim je dam je dewa dan deve jo dan den para ju je do nga dan do nga ra je jo dan tra wa ra ju je do nga me be dewa dan min tra wa ju je cha dan ye dan je dan yon ce me ba la ne para ju je sim je dam je dewa dan deve jo dan den para ju je do nga dan do nga ra je jo dan tra wa ra ju je do nga ra me pe dewa dan min tra wa ra ju je nye re cha dan nye dan tra Tanyom tse me bala ne para ju je sem je tam je dewa dan deve ju dan den para ju je donga dan donga ra je ju dan tra wa ra ju je donga me pe dewa dan min tra wa ju je ye re cha dan ye dan tre Tanyom tse me bala ne para ju je 다소 되시나
Ah, unborn emptiness and the unceasing appearances of dependent arising are the way of illusory unity. Before me in the sky, amidst vast clouds of offerings, on a jewel lion throne, lotus, sun, and moon disk seats, the incomparable teacher, lion of the Shakyas. His body, the color of gold, adorned with major and minor marks, clad in the three Dharma robes, he sits in Vajra posture, his right hand gracefully poised in the earth-touching mudra, and his left hand in the gesture of meditation, holding an alms bowl full of nectar. Like a mountain of gold, magnificent, he shines in splendor, spreading beams of wisdom light across the whole expanse of space. the 8 close sons, 16 elders, and the like. A vast ocean-like retinue of noble beings circles him all around. Simply think of him and he grants the glory of the highest bliss, liberation from samsara and nirvana, the two extremes. He is the great being, perfect embodiment of every source of refuge. With your great compassion, you embraced this turbulent and degenerative world and made 500 mighty aspirations. You are as exalted as the white lotus. Whoever hears your name shall never return to samsara. Most compassionate teacher, to you I pay homage. All my own and others' virtues, body, speech, and mind, together with all our possessions, visualized like Samantabhadra's offering clouds, I offer to you. All the harmful actions and transgressions I have committed throughout beginningless time, each and every one I now confess with intense and heartfelt regret. In all virtuous actions of the noble ones and ordinary beings accumulated throughout the past, present, and future, I rejoice. Turn the wheel of the profound and vast Dharma teachings ceaselessly and in every direction, I pray. Your wisdom body is like space and remains changeless throughout past, present, and future. Yet in the perception of those to be guided, you go through the display of birth and death. Even so, let your form body continue always to appear. Through all the virtues I have accumulated in the past, am accumulating now, and will accumulate in the future, for the sake of benefiting all beings. You remain forever pleased, and may all attain the state of the victorious one, the Lord of Dharma. Living beings like us, adrift in this degenerate age, have no guidance and protection. Because of your kindness, caring for us with surpassing compassion, every manifestation in this world now of the three jewels is your enlightened activity. You are then our only refuge, incomparable, supreme, so from our hearts we pray, with total confidence and faith. Do not neglect the great promises you made in times gone by, but hold us until we attain enlightenment with your compassion. Supreme Teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, complete and perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni Buddha, to you I pay homage, to you I make offerings, in you I take refuge. Supreme Teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, complete and perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni Buddha, to you I pay homage, to you I make offerings, in you I take refuge. Lama Tongpa Chimpen Che, Deshin Che Pa Chak Chopa, Yang Dak Parzo Pe Pange, Pawakawa Shakya Tupa, Chak Sal Do Tu Chap Tu Chio. Teatau Muni Muni Ma Muni Moha, Teatau Muni Muni Ma Muni Soha, 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 Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Soha, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Soha, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Soha. From the Buddha's body there emanates a great radiance of multicolored rays of wisdom light, dispelling all our own and others' obscurations, and causing all the genuine qualities of the Mahayana path to arise within us, so that we attain the level of perfection from which we will never return again to samsara. And so we'll go ahead and choose the next person. Katang Sen, can you do Zambala, please?
You can't unmute.
Yeah, I know. You can unmute now, Katang.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Namo, I go for refuge to the lamas, Paman Sabra, Chenrezig, and the three jewels, so that all mother sentient beings as vast as the sky achieve enlightenment, and give rise to bodhicitta. From the unfabricated empty nature of mind, the play of unceasing clear and empty rigpa, I arise as noble Zambala, clear white holding a staff in the right hand and a jewel-producing mongoose in the left. He is decorated with precious ornament. He is on a cushion of lotus and moon, and sit in the position of authority on a turquoise dragon. He is surrounded by the retinue, the 4 classes of Dakinis, all with their own hand implement and ornament. At the crown are Amitabha and Chenrezig, the 5 family of the victorious longevity deities, and the Lama Uddiyana Pamasabtapa, father and mother. They arise in the vastness of empty clarity, rainbow light, appearing but without self-nature. At the heart of Zambala on a moon, visualize a mantra garland and C-syllable Zam. Light radiates make offering to the victors and gather their blessing, purify obscuration of sentient beings and increase longevity and merit, gathering all accomplishment and dissolving into me. Blessing and accomplishment fall like rain. Om Pema Troda Arya Zambala Hridaya Hom Pe. Om Pema Troda Arya Zambala Hridaya Hom Pe. Om Pema Troda Arya Zambala Hridaya Hom Pe. Da Kini Hari Ni Si Sa Si Samji Ze Nor Ti So Peljor Nyandrak Wantan Kaya Waka Titsa Wanshankuru Soha. The assembly of deities gather into one and dissolve into the realm of Uddiyana, the essence of the mind, objectless, vast, original purity, Ah. By this virtue, may all transient beings have effortless, spontaneous attainment, and may there be good fortune in the land of the robust deity of Uddiyana. Thank you.
Khenmo, would you and Lopön like to do Achi for us, please?
Also, traditional. Dong Bing An Le Yin Ge Shi Ga Po Jiu Shi De Le Wu Pa De Me Ban Zhui San Jie Jian Jiu Sen Ba Nam Qiu Cun De Shi La Tian Shi De Yong Si Jiu Ba Ab Jie Gum Do Kan Mo Xie Ne Xiab Ni Jie De Xie Ne Ba Nab Za Dar Jie La Lo So Wa Ren Bo Jie Na Cu Jie Jie Kya na ngu kara je me long zin ba de ma wong da da tu sun zip Kya yu na ye shen je no ba na ba so wa tam na gun do tam jen jung wa chu Rang ge tu kara da we chun karo je ten de shi ka po lang ha je ko wa chu O mama za ra su wa yan du sa wan du ran za du mama du hong pe su O mama za ra su wa yan du sa wan du ran za du mama du hong pe su O mama za ra su wa yan du sa wan du ran za du mama du hong pe su O mama za ra su wa yan du sa wan du ran za du mama du hong pe su wa O mama za ra su wa yan du sa wan du ran za du mama du hong pe su wa是现在人所把电去接触，功德伽马见面见巴吉，可为罗达肯切乌阿玛，地切嘎德拉ram切巴摩地，下界强捏切见从别个，恰言扎入念巴kun恰住。用巴图那一切努文真，这巴波拉我这根子结，萨我南耶那扎古拉索，人波切结达拉结结变波，切是真是切达红波切，有的人红波是波见，达切罗那妹妹有见着。萨我的爹是嘎嘎点的，耶稣把爹他莫切别错。天波婆娘穷着动，人民那些看着错结果，真的是的真面昂着结， tôn sum cho ne par jian zhi gong de lun ju bei sri ga song ken zi ma ten ba song sri tor ma de ji la to dan ji ge ju wei chen le zu jia wei den song tu de wang mo jie zhen ju bei ji chung wei dam zi ji a qi qi zhu ko dan qi ba la so lo chu dong du du gong zheng zu家为天上土地王母亲，正确北京穷为当自己，二十七中口当七八拉，所罗秋冬的的公正走。家为天上土地王母亲，正确北京穷为当自己，二十七中口当七八拉，所罗秋冬的的公正走。然念多劫南无马给劫萨维切措的节点松果人那些这个让亲近的就托给萨王八灭来让苗看出在南界马达这马公将先大量乌马红颜之却在我三面界一些的自然现界南巴所说人听在八叶东升冈瓦尔觉嗡阿嗡嗡阿嗡嗡阿嗡那么萨瓦达坦嘎达巴永比琼比给比萨瓦提冈嘎的萨瓦人阿曼冈嘎那康索瓦那么萨瓦达坦嘎达巴永比琼比给比萨瓦提冈嘎萨瓦人阿曼冈嘎那康索瓦萨瓦达坦嘎达巴永比琼比给比萨瓦提冈嘎的萨瓦人阿曼冈嘎那康索瓦Om Aga Romoka Sawa Dharmana Adine Bina Tuta Om Ahom Pesova Om Aga Romoka Sawa Dharmana Adine Bina Tuta Om Ahom Pesova Om Aga Romoka Sawa Dharmana Adine Bina Tuta Om Ahom Pesova是然界业内人界之八业，马界萨祖三位均空的，今日些是所谓定从的，一切来了这边扎给马，嘎当当了那边索马球。去见人来就没过着吧，一些节点存在中国界，多当结果人的些事实，南卡天上也问巴为了，切巴没来得着得着呢，切切切莫切那那啥。รับ给多半的是些事实，一些人来就没过着吧。别当一些当才忘给了，让人推荐为定送去，谢谢王家苦当结巴呢。别俺中州的州，别再去别养活人是人，去点三点都是讲出去。他们在那的他们在什么在我把我爱了我。Tuh Bangkavya Karashaya Samaya是然些然因所拉摩口达结巴根，然天别点蓝结巴拉修。我这一直去这江苏去，另外一种个别强差多。耶德人南罗加蓬的出藏西，萨克给三界亲戚。 Rajuna Sapa Sebe Molam Je Te Da Kwe Token Je Tere Tala Sanjum Ben Je Tu Jung Ge Ran Sre Den Che Tam Me Zang Sa Shen Da Je Nyu Mo Se Re Men Sho Na To Da Ta Sa Rin Che Pu Da Aga Re Da de ta pa la so je she na de zhe zhe din tam je da che ma ra wo kon sa do na so je de ta chen de te be san chun de ta wa je pe pa de la ma sa ye da do je nam je ko je sa ten so zo mo yen so 谢谢这理解看着一切，看着马当前看着王给，马萨西苏西出西马桑桑阿玛尼克索给，不知当真理出木马木可当切下萨玛那东给，错难当马木看着马驴，他街上看着世界色配。 大巴那就莫扎些切耶，望求马他灭人些切啊，让这当地马就你口当，切巴桑大家当的南就，这把崩过为了当局接，送灭做感觉定把人接。 把下界苏马江走，咱给就拉当大浪风景。 tham着大娘着空着挪着动着捏着把钱拿着当，抬着手没咱就跟上给大脚呢，跌得上去求个。三毛爷拉送进些娘家，手就呢把手没天天给，小娃当碰错上把去见，若把手。 接待人他送帮多多去接准备，光帮多等在前囊，上瓦也去接准备，我帮多去认得个，那做接去接准备，我帮多每个都样，若毛也去接准备。 多哈当恰家等在接去接准备。 光盘多西北在莫连头娃去接准备，光盘多女的在屋来色娃去接准备，光盘多一些诺瑞大给娃去接准备，光盘多眼睛江错大给娃去接准备，光盘多家庭门呢大接去接准备。 光盘多研究中心，同着些去接准备。光盘多索马没当，马这些空的电用。一天特进把用，本所跟的人打给。让的林恰阳江错，现的这索马特进。 前南些年不等把人接送等在排街，等把人做大家们呢，块接拉些拉茶些，终究别接是大家穷跟多看那个看，人那是这样多看人成就。 Gewan de thola de che che drobo ge me che jana ra ge sa thom ne ko ve Gamtso jen ba shu tuje shena Miss Mahakala Miss Mahakala please guide Roma.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Oh, please consider me. Oh, please consider me. Oh, please consider me. Glorious Gayatri Guardian, Great Black One, Mahakala, and glorious Great Bhairava, Haruka, Chakra Samvara. By nature you are one within Dharmata. In essence you are the same within exalted wisdom. In character you are equal in unhindered activity. Hero who defeats all unfavorable circumstances, you are the most Lord of all appearance and existence, gods and demons, fierce protector who is the great leader of activity oppressors. Invincible sovereign, you have radiant splendor, you protect awareness-holding yogins as if they were your own children, and assess the concentration of oath-bound practitioners, and are endowed with the radiance of peace, the splendor of increasing, the power of magnetizing activity, and are swift in the activities of liberating savage foes and hindrances. Your mighty skill to protect the teachings is superb. Powerful Lord Dordre Draksachan, great war god of yogins, please think of me. I, a yogin, invite Vajraharuka's enlightened body, speech, and mind to abide in me in this holy image as I engage in practice to attain unsurpassed enlightenment. Act so as to conquer obstacles to the path of supreme bliss and the dread of the four maras. Please cause me to encounter the samadhi escort that will guide me on the true path. Thus, until I attain enlightenment, help me not to walk on mistaken paths with body, speech, and mind, but cause my mind to turn toward freedom and enlightenment. May all unfavorable circumstances in this world be vanquished. May perfect auspiciousness and goodness pervade and increase. May gods, demons, and humans be overpowered, and at all times and in every circumstance, may enlightened activities be accomplished according to my supplications. As you are the glory and the guardian of all beings, please perform activities to grant supreme and common cities unobstructedly and effortlessly. May I vanquish all unfavorable circumstances, the enemies and hindrances with mistaken views and the like, and may perfect auspiciousness and goodness pervade and prevail. Mari. By the power of compassion and previous aspirations, Achitoki Droma, arise from unborn Dharmadhatu and look upon us from the expanse of exalted wisdom. Miraculously descend upon this activity mandala. Mother Achi, daughter of Nanam, powerful lady, Dharma Tara, wisdom Tara, Samaya Tara, magnetizing goddess, flesh-eating karma dakini, noble lady Tashi Sarigma, Milo Lok Sama, Trekar Dok Sama, Dikisa Sama, and Chopindrik Sama. Protectors of the lineage forefathers, protectors of secret hermitages, protectors with Samaya who pledge to protect the teachings of the Kagyu lineage. Your luminous wisdom never fades, your compassion never withholds. Your blessings are close and your power unobstructed. All of you, bless us yogins and our retinue with your enlightened body. Bless us with your enlightened speech. Bless us with your enlightened mind. Bless us with your enlightened qualities. Bless us with your enlightened activities. Act so as to conquer adverse circumstances and the dread of the four maras. Please cause me to encounter the samadhi escort that will guide me on the true path. Thus, until I attain enlightenment, help me not to walk on mistaken paths with body, speech, and mind, but cause my mind to turn toward freedom and enlightenment. May all unfavorable circumstances in this world be vanquished. May perfect auspiciousness and goodness pervade and increase. May gods, demons, and humans be overpowered, and at all times and in every circumstance, may enlightened activities be accomplished according to my supplications. As you are the glory and the guardian of all beings, please perform activities to grant supreme and common cities unobstructedly and effortlessly. May I vanquish all unfavorable circumstances, the enemies and hindrances with mistaken views and the like, and may perfect auspiciousness and goodness pervade and prevail. Zaya, Zaya, Siddhi, Siddhi, Phala, Phala, Thank you, Khenmo. Would you like us to select the next person as we usually do, or would you like to do that?
공소 게몰라 공소 미 심바치 동킨 움제 다타 공소 담가 렌나 양나치 담가 렌김벨라
That's a kona rana lazo.
라솔라. They said please. She said please choose.
Okay, Mariette, would you like to continue?
Thank you, Debbie. Out of the mandala of Dharmakaya, great bliss, you protect against dangerous diseases such as epidemics and against untimely death. I pay homage to you, mother of wish-fulfilling activities, golden-colored Panashavari sitting on a lotus seat. Your main face is yellow, the right face blue, and the left face white. Your hair is bound up in a top knot, and you are full of splendor. I pay homage to the divine body of the goddess who grants accomplishments. Illustrious one, you are the embodiment of wisdom and compassion. You dwell in the midst of masses of fire, which is burning like the fire at the end of time. With your 3 faces and 6 arms, you look terrifying and wrathful. I pay homage to you who has one leg outstretched and the other bent. Wearing a robe of leaves, holding bow and arrow, a battle axe, and a bundle of branches. Panashavari, you display the threatening mudra and hold a vajra. I pay homage to you, great mother, protectress of beings. The crown of myself as Panashavari consists of the 5 victorious ones. From their hearts flow streams of milky nectar, filling my body, thus visualize. In this way, all wrongdoings and obscurations are purified. Om Pishati Panashavari Sawamari Prashamani Hom. 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 Om Vetrasatu Samaya Manu Palaya Vitsa Satu Tinopa Jitsa Jitso Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anulato Me Bawa Sawa Sede Mitrayata Sawa Kama Sutsami Hisitam Shriam Kuruham Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Bata Mami Munza Patsapawa Mahasamaya Satua. May the great Vajradhara, the true Lama, who is the essence of all Buddhas, grant the auspiciousness of the goddess Panashavari to all beings of the 3 realms without exception and to myself. Glorious goddess Panashavari, you liberate all others and myself from the infliction of great harm. Having taken refuge in you, sublime goddess, please protect us from all dangers. Thank you, everyone. Julie, would you like to continue with the Tara?
Okay, thank you, Mariette. In the reign of unborn mother of Dhamma Tatu, abides the Reverend Mother, the deity Tara. She bestowed happiness on all sentient beings. I supplicate Mother Tara of Dhamma Tatu to protect us from all fears. Not realize oneself as Dharmakaya, the mind of sentient beings are overpowered by negative emotion. These beings wandering in samsara are my mothers. I supplicate Mother Tara, deity of great compassion, please protect us. If the meaning of Dharma is not born in one's heart, one just follows the words of convention meaning. We are deceived by delusory philosophical views and dogma. I supplicate Mother Tara of perfect wisdom, please protect us. It is difficult to understand our own mind as Buddha's mind, seeing nature mind but not familiarized with it through practice. We are lost in unwholesome worldly activity. I supplicate Mother Tara of perfect mindfulness, please protect us. The absolutely nature of mind is self-arising, non-dual Buddha wisdom, yet because of habitual grasping to dualistic conception, we are bound by it. No matter what we do, I supplicate Mother Tara of non-dual wisdom, please protect us. Although we abide in the perfect meaning of absolute truth, we do not understand the interdependence of cause and effect on the relative level. We are ignorant about the true reality of phenomena. I supplicate Mother Tara of two truths omniscience, please protect us. Like the nature of space, which is beyond all conception limits, the reality of all conditioned phenomena is no different from that. But there are disciples on the path who do not realize it. I supplicate Mother Tara of perfect enlightenment of the three kayas, please protect us. Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Sangha. The next one, David, would you like to do it? David?
Is it David Diaz or David? Which?
David and Gardoma?
Oh, David. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
To Organ Rinpoche we pray, grant us without impediment or obstacles arising, favorable circumstances, the fulfillment of our aspirations and attainments, ordinary and supreme. Embodiment of the Buddhas of past, present, and future, Guru Rinpoche, Master of all cities, Guru of great bliss, a dispeller of all obstacles, wrathful subjugator of Maras. To you I pray, inspire me with your blessing, so that outer and secret obstacles are dispelled, and all my aspirations are spontaneously fulfilled. Emaho, marvelous Buddha, making boundless light, Lord of great compassion, on your right. On your left, the Sattva with great power, countless Buddhas, Bodhisattvas round. There is marvelous, countless happiness in the pure land that's called Dewachin. Then when I and others pass, may we swiftly cut off all the other births. Born there we see Amitabha's face. Now I chant this aspiration prayer. Bodhisattvas, Buddhas on 10 sides, bless us to gain right free of obstacles. Teyata pensatriya awa bodhanaya soha. Bodhicitta, excellent and precious mind, where is born may not arise, where is born may not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And Khenmo, could you please finish our practice for the day? Thank you.
맞아. Dila 참 자선 왜라.
Rela, da de sarne chi jima nangro nang lapsong.
是没去见接波让你总三界跟见我你上身这个龙身动机。作为拉美小拉古强子，多节相接的罗那罗当，阿巴摩拉出节干波，巴摩这巴结完这光巴，感觉拉玛那拉古强子，刚给多节捏中间，大瓦他们节帮维起来，他们去那东西，我他们的拉古强子。라소 드니 토마르 남바 렌제 차마라 다 가시 하도 인지리 가시 니고 인지리 가시 고모 있으바리 다 차마라 나gon 뒤손다 참베게 남바 렌제 차마라 다시데레 시기요라.
So first of all, Khenmo, I would just like to say welcome to everyone and thank you so much for joining us from all over. She knows everyone is in different time zones. For some of you it's morning, for some of you it's evening, for some of you any time of the day it might be. And so all of you across the 3 times, thank you and welcome.
다디게 삼조데라 데네 켄보제초 켄보산도라 콘 데치칼레 만보제 아니 데인데 공기미도 데인데 체 지랑게 데 주제 신나 데네 송송 데네 가게 콘라라 소소 시바yen 데인데 데네 드랭게 데네 마랑 힌도 소소 간시시 제 힌도 힌도 이게 콜라 쇼응게요스.
And so Khenpo Samdra Rinpoche has asked Khenmo to give some teaching, some instruction to all of you. So she has agreed. And therefore, she thought it would be most beneficial to speak some about the practice of Ngondro, or the preliminaries. So she'll share what she can with you about that.
데네 다치단게 다다다 맞아 다 드랭 혼조 쉬야인데 지단 다 남주 ngaranso 혼조 데라 지단게 남바 망보지요와 베나다 ngaranso 주제 나라야 혼조 다다 베차단 덴베스나레 망보요레 데네 ngaranso 다 마인 베게 주제 나나 혼조게
Doctor também.
혼조 다다 차지시야단 혼조 데네 봉아다 봉고라서 바다 만다 망보지 유데버와 네 다다 드랭 알아서 시야로제나 데네 다다 삽주 ngaden 데네 냠레 마제게 콘라 데네 니바드 다다 ngaden 그 혼로데 니바드 냠레 난고 요바인자 드랭 알아서 시야로제나 데네 ngaden 그 혼로데 차디우스.
So when it comes to the practice of Ngondro, or the preliminaries, there are so many different styles of Ngondro practice, different collections, that are connected with different cycles of teaching, different lineages, and so forth. There's also the different, for instance, generally speaking, the common 4 sections, but sometimes, with the accumulation of 500,000, sometimes the accumulation with 900,000. What she is teaching from is the practice of Ngondro that is particularly practiced in our Dragun Kagyu lineage that follows, the course of the Fivefold path of Mahamudra. So the Ngondro, or preliminary cycle, that is the Fivefold that belongs to the Fivefold path of Mahamudra.
데네 다 지당 알아서 다 코아나나 지진다 알아서 좋아 신진 탐지 알아서 지 코아나나 제차베 계시고라 데네 지 란신 기지 알아서 동해게 란신라고 다 근데지 자기 요래데 이나야다 지 동해게 란신 바데 다 망파치와지 동해게 란신 다 동해 뇽신 바데 지 인바이나야 근데 동해게 란신 바데 소소게다 초도교 말와 dendu ane che simjin sulayena yang den che doje den ngaran so dewa che thomna sambe ke den che lo yore de dene ngaran so ke de mundu pa de ane che dungye da kangye che ma jong na sambe ke den che lo che yore de te ina yang ngaran so doje ke dewa de yang 토마토 드마시 안 대나진 게 나란서 게 민두베게 동해데 제 만도나야 아니 제 라진 게 드네 제 동해데 강암 쇼쇼게 드네 제대 받는데 제 연구요레스
And so, we, being having taken birth in samsara or cyclic existence, we witness and experience ourselves the inevitable suffering of sentient beings. And so all sentient beings who wander in cyclic existence, they are trapped in this endless cycle of suffering, not knowing or not feeling, not understanding why we continue to experience suffering. So all sentient beings are in the same boat and wishing to have happiness. Everyone wants to be happy and nobody wants to suffer. So everyone wishes, not to have to suffer. And yet still, even though there is this attempt to experience happiness, suffering occurs again and again because we don't properly understand how to really bring about the true causes of happiness. And so, without that understanding, then we have no choice but to experience hardship and difficulty, suffering again and again. And that is the nature of being a human being trapped in cyclic existence.
아저 내내 지단다 아저 대상게 두줄라 얘네 오네게 다치 tun진 니마 레레네 레레다 쟁오네게 차진단 tun진 간지기 돈이 부숨 소바 자기 요래데 이나야 마란소 좋아 대다게 지다 마란소 심진 대다게 샘감게 대진로 지라 차촌 바이나 되네 오네게 치기 응보야 지침바나지게 나게 샘감데 니마 레레라 야 젠조 투고 요래스나 안조 투고 메반라고 젠도와 대나지게 지 나게 샘감데 되네 지 강에다 나자다 되네 지 둥에다 마르마르 되네 젠조 요래스
And it's interesting because right now we live at sort of a peak of modernization. These days, in these modern times, there's so much technology, so much that is externally, that has made our lives more convenient, that has made things more comfortable. And there's a real abundance of, convenience and material comfort, and yet inwardly there isn't the same sort of development happening with the mind. So even though the outer circumstances may be such that they seem to really support well-being and happiness, inwardly it's almost the opposite. There's like a decline of mental wellness, or mental health and well-being. And so there's an increase of difficulties internally. There's more mental illness. There's more, internal hardship and suffering internally or emotionally, mentally.
그때인데 다 지당 알아서 제게 응보를 야제 친 대추게 지당게 알아서 로아미게 제 손에라 핀 토다 토핀 토게 요래데 이나야 당은이 알아서 제 로아미데서 제다 내 나자나 뇽로 도야 되네 제 생카메나 찌른 도야 되지나 제다 무제게 나나 제 되지 치르치른 도야 된 뭐마데 된 알아서게 다제 추냠린다 되네 제 곰냠린 지야데다 오늘게 뱀세베게다 미나지 미지 나와이나 땡아 좀 미사나지다 펜도 여러와다 땡드 미지고지 팽게 말에 네바게 합자고 하나지 다다다 펜도 치슈라오데 이네 곰냠네다 추냠네 지제들인도스.
And so, of course, there is, some benefit, definitely some benefit that has occurred through, this advancement, in a external sense, and a lot of benefit that comes from that. But when it comes to developing inner happiness and well-being, then really our best, option or what we have available to us are the practices that spirituality, that the Dharma provides for us. So it's really in practicing the Dharma and meditating that we can develop our inner experience, our mind, develop well-being and happiness internally, mentally and emotionally. This is what will be of the most benefit to us. It's really like medicine. So when we take medicine, of course, we can't just, get a hold of the medicine, but we have to actually put it into practice. We have to actually, receive the correct instructions and then actually take the medicine. And so it's similar with the Dharma practices, understanding them and then actually relying on them, putting them into practice.
다 알아서 추냠내 지야다 검냠내 지야다 개침보리 된도 다 알아서 추냠내다 검냠내 담보 제발라 토마 알아서게 되네 개치슈데 알아서게 다제 코아스나레 되네 쟁문에게 코아다 소소게 다제 알아서 텔라진 힘봄도 삼베게 쟁문에게 동해게란 신지레샤스 ane chengone ke deji yang da pa che thopi mendos ende da chen khoa de ngone ke nimpo mendu sambe ke ane chen khoa de le che thana sambe ke ge chi shu de khoa de ne thana sambe ke thandu ke lo che che go re ende wa ke tini ni pa de la ene khoa de le thane tini nga chengone chancho ke kompang che thomna sambe ke lo che che ende che ke lo che ende tini khoa de la ran shin ke ngjong sia che tini khoa de le pa lo do be ke ngjong sia che chen go re ende che che en pa ina tini ngone ke 추냠내 지하게다 코아들 로도 보셔거든 오늘 추냠내 지나야 되는 오늘게 배나 신가 야부 차서나 말한속에 돈도 담나 야부 지기로 어디나 진지 창고레스.
And so when we practice meditation, when we practice the Dharma, what is really of most important as the foundation of our practice is a genuine understanding in the essencelessness of samsara, really being convinced, really understanding that samsara, that cyclic existence is the nature of suffering. And so then when we have that understanding, then we really have the desire to get free. And that desire to be free based on understanding the essencelessness of cyclic existence is renunciation. And that renunciation then turns us toward the goal of liberation and awakening. And so we really long to become free. We really long to reach this state of awakening. And when we cultivate that understanding of the essencelessness of, worldly pursuits, then it becomes natural to have this mind of renunciation. And we turn away from samsara, and it becomes like, the fertile field that our Dharma practice is cultivated in. So, like when you have a field with really fertile soil, then whatever you plant in that field will grow.
된도 다 알아서 코알레 지 탄나 삼베게 지 로진 코알라 지 다 알아서 로도 베게 코아데 지 야본 힘보 지 민도 삼베 로도 지 로도 바지 마제나 되네 오네게 추냠네야 지 양다 바지 용토 말레라 치바양 되네 지 양다 바지 용토야 데베 칼레 카보찬 고레 된데 토마데 코란 코에게 란진데 시 되네 타베게 란진지 시 근데 제게 로예베게 토네 되네 제 오네게 다 말한서 혼도 냠레 나레 추냠레 칸데 제레 쇼바이나야 되네 오네게 펜토여 바지다 네바 연경게 미지 창고레스.
And so if we don't have this understanding of the essencelessness of samsara, if our mind hasn't really turned away, and we still have some hope, to find happiness in samsara, if we don't have genuine renunciation, it will be really difficult to have great success in our Dharma. It will be difficult to really have correct Dharma practice. So so if, this necessitates really understanding the nature of samsara and also really understanding the nature of liberation. And when that understanding is there and there's a solid foundation of renunciation, this brings real power and energy to our Dharma practice.
Tene ta ngaran so ngondro ke nyamne do chi ta nga zo tene namba ke kapsi de la yang tene chi ngondro de ta zo de sanga do ji de be ke ta chi khongsu do ban do tene chi ta yin tu samba ane ngondro ke nyamne thoma nang wala tene ngaran so chi lama ji be ke chi jiba yu jibe ke jiba dan je de wa tene chi ta ta je tomba chum den de ke ane chi kai gomba dan je de wa tene lama kuma nam ke menga ke chi ta menga dan danga ke chi jiba dan je de wa tende chi ta ngaran so so ke chi ta nyamne ke jiba de pe mse pe ke chen bore samga ke nyamne khande chi nyamne che na ya ane chi nga chu nyamne develop ala so pa ta nyamne chi chogi yore de ina ya chi jiba dan menga jiba chi lama ko me jiba dan menga chi je de yo na tene ngone ke jinhap dan ane chi khare na su su nyamne de la leader yung ala pe mse pe kensin chenpo yores.
Mhm. Mhm. So when practicing Ngondro or the preliminaries, just as actually in the context of any Vajrayana practice, especially, these practices of secret mantra Vajrayana, it's really important that we have also kind of as to preceding our practice, that we have reliance on the Lama, that we practice, a Lama Chupa or offering to the Lama, that we rely on the lineage Lamas of the past, and that this is, that we also practice in such a way that's connected with the instructions that we have received, the pith instructions. So this is to say, the reason to say this is because it's important to understand, the role that lineage plays in all of our practice. So if, for instance, we can read lots of books about practice, about Buddhism, but without a connection to lineage, without, having received instruction, without, the connection with lineage there, then we won't really be able to gain so much. So, for instance, to really receive the attainments or siddhis, the only way to do this is through also, connection to the lineage.
Tendu ta ngaran ro na chidang ke ding hun ro de ta ngaran so chuji ke lama nambe ke kumde ni tene tham long ta che la so ba tham nyong yo tene ngaran so so ta nyamne this nyamne che ge be ko che re tendu ta tren che namba la na de shya re tendu tren ngaran so ke ta nga den ke hun ro na ne ta dan de ke dan de ta da nga den hun ro chan ju lam san she ba de re tendu da ti gi thone tere ngaran so hun ro nyam ne de thola da shu go re da chidang ke las ta bu de so na shana la.
And so many, all of you have, received a lot of empowerments, transmissions, and teachings from our qualified lamas or gurus. You've also done a lot of practice. And also from Khenmo's side, she also has, she's likewise received these teachings, transmissions, and empowerments, and has done the practice herself. Gone through the course of training of the Fivefold Path of Mahamudra, the Ngondro practices. So this particular practice that she will be teaching is, let me just open the sadhana so I have the name. So this is the excellent path to enlightenment, the practices of the preliminaries of the Fivefold Path of Mahamudra. The Shodang kapar kotsuyayin?
Shodan de Shodan Jubdun Rishala.
Judin, that's all. And we'll be starting from page 12.
Shodan Jubdun 17 Ribela.
Oh, 17? Oh, Chudun, sorry. 17. Gongta.
Lasso.
Yeah.
Dene Chidan ge da Ngondro de la Pangazo Madien ke Ngondro Doji Naya Chidan ge Ngondro de la Nasi ke Yewa Somyerwa.
Mhm.
Ngazo Timon Che Ngondro Ji, ane Timon Mayen Bege Nang da Ngaranzo Nang Ngondro Ji, Dene Dada Ngazo Chebar Ngondro Zene Ngondro la Namba Som Dawaji Dene Song Gedwa. Den du Dene Da Chidan Ngondro Shiba de Da Ngazo Kandre Je Cha de Resina, Chidan Da Yongda la da Ngaranzo Ngondro Shiba de Ji Ngon la Ji Nyamle Ji Je Yinba Chi Goya Chidan, Dene Ngondro Siya de Ji Nguji Ge Nyamle Mayen Ba.
So in general, there are these three categories of the preliminaries. So we have, first the four common preliminaries, or the outer preliminaries, the inner preliminaries, and then the special preliminaries. So are the common, the uncommon, and the special. So the common preliminaries generally have four categories. The uncommon has four categories, and the special preliminaries have three categories. And the preliminary, even in the word itself, Ngondro, this means literally preliminary, meaning that it's not the actual practice, the main practice, but that which it precedes the main practice and is necessary to complete in order to enter into the main practice.
Then do that. Une chewaina da ngaranzo Ngondro de Jindro Jina da je Ngondro de Kechimbo Mayen ba je Ngula Nyamne Chijen ba do je tende je Gonso yu de banda wo je dan tende re de Chitan Chena Ngondro de pe mesebege Kechimbo cha de res. Then do that. Je John Jidin Sumjin Gombe tende je song yorwa. Chitan ge Ngondro Nyamne de Mune ge Jingi je Ngondro ge Nyamne de je Kechimbo Mayen ba. Dene che nguji de ke chimbo yamba de tsuki yore de konge dene che ngondo ma nyamle na umbe ke kapsela ngondo de dene ngone thane ke da ngondo ke nyamle de pe mese be ke da ke chimbo re sha ngondo de khoran ngondo nyamle khoran nguji ndawo che thongso ma to be ke ngondo ke nyamle de dene che ngone ke che ke chimbo ma yin ba che da dene che da ngondo se ya che so la thong ma so dene che so na do la.
And so the preliminary practices, even though they're referred to as the preliminary practices, they are really so important. They're like the most important part of the entire path of practice, really. And sometimes, it may be thought that the preliminaries are less important, or one, sort of does the preliminaries with the objective to get to the main practice. But this is really a misunderstanding. For instance, as Lord Jigten Sumgön has said, others may regard the preliminaries as being less important than the main practice, but I consider the preliminaries to be the most profound. So the preliminaries themselves are actually like the main practice. They're so crucial, so important to the entire process of the path, that they're really like the most important part.
And do that, Honge Sonya de Ngondro de Pemese Beta, Subsonya Geta, Nengando, which Carato de Ursina, that Timon Che, Ngondro Jida, which is not in Munege, da Donganija, Timoge, Donganija, Tiba Timoge, Yamnindo, which is da Chagere, Tene Tela Tembege, Teneja Dangazo, that Timon Mayembe, Ngondro Jida, which is not in a Labardo Dina, that Mendado, which is not in Munege. Nguji ke nyamne dinde che chang ko do ma to be dine che ngondo la ya che sor de dinde che da che nga den ki nyam ne la da ti pe mi se pe za chen bo kha ji den de ji kong ke se ma song den de ji song nan dos.
And so the four preliminaries, the four common preliminaries belong to both the practice of sutra and also tantra. They fall into the category of both. And so actually in particular, and likewise, the uncommon preliminaries have this really crucial element that is, so actually, Lord Jigten Sungman, it said, Lord Jigten Sungman, Sungyore, Sungyobela. The Dadung Lord, the Jigten Sungman, Sungyobela. Or Chitang.
An ji den sung gong ge la den mo do den u chi na ji se song se la.
Yeah. And so this, the practice, he says, I haven't seen anything more important or more profound, more actually like embodying the meaning of the main practice in the preliminaries themselves. That's
Ji den sung gong ge ngui ji le jang mon do sab song go ya ge nen ga zo do de ka wa to de yer na mon do ge chu nyam ne de da nga ran so chi wa chi ma pen je le da chi chu ge nyam ne ge ji za yin ban do ji da ni ne nga ran so ge nga den ge cha cha chen bu ge to pa de ngun de chor go na ne ngi bar do mon do ge nyam ne de ne ji me de ma rong wa ji yin ba yin zang de ne ji ngun ne ge 소소남 사야라서 강치게 돈에 되는 제 무도 냠는데 메타 메바 제인서 되는 공부 무도 냠는데 내가 지에서 되는 소송사를.
And so Jigten Sungen stating that the preliminaries are even more profound or more important than the main practice is that this is like the very root, the very foundation. Without that, there's no way to proceed. There's no way to go forward or to continue to really actually have genuine understanding and experience in the practice of the fivefold path of Mahamudra. And so without the preliminaries, there's nothing else. There's no way to go forward. And so for that reason, it really is the most profound, the most important aspect of our practice.
그래서 되네 당아서 지단게다 당아서 투몬 치행 혼도 진도 이제 토마할 수바이나 다 투몬 치행 혼도 지데다 단데니마 단데와 당아서 투몬 치행 혼도 진도 이제나 그냥 아주 다 첸데라베 메세베게 챵차 쳔보 유디 아니 첸데 당아랑 전에 제 기보단 다 쟁원에서 첸데라지 야보지도 삼베 셈 하장게 챵차 쳔보지 이게 챵차데 파 도야게 치도라 그냥 아주 tension hepa kaware sheba de song gdwa ene de na jin ke ta ngaran so ta o nge chu sani je go nani je go ne de san ta nga so lelo cha je de je lendo tenje ke je lelo de le ka do par cha be ke che de la de ne je o ta nga so je mada pare da sta nga so ne ke ngaran so ke chen de ane pe me se be ke ta 카디신 로아단 텐데 미시바지 마다바란시레 신데 삼바데 뇽레다 레르기님보 마다바데 띵고르와라 데나진게 데네 직다 시바 감송 코안데라 데네 오네 게 데와 타르토 바진도 스타 오네 지보지다 데와진도 산데게 데와지라 차운도 데게 바지다 시바 감송 코와게 데와다 담지지다 오네게 타토게 데와지 마인베 땡야게 지도라 데네 진 코비 둥에시아제 띵고르와라 데네 지바데다 아주 단조 말로름보지 토바데지 된다예 바지다 현도예 바지데 저야게 체도 되네다다가 좀 레짐데 시야도다 티모치 홍로 지데 된데지네 송고양로지 된데레샤스
And so to begin with, we have the four common preliminaries, which are the four thoughts that turn the mind. And so first, to counteract our sort of complacency and being very attached to our life, thinking, oh, they're just completely caught up in the phenomena of our worldly life and thinking, really this just enjoying life as we, this one life without thinking beyond the content of this life itself. First, to understand the rarity of this opportunity to be born as a human being with the precious, with the leisures and endowments is the way to counteract fixation and sort of a limited fixation to this life alone, by contemplating the preciousness of achieving a human rebirth with the leisures and endowments and how rare that is. And then secondly, to counteract the mind of or the tendency of procrastination when it comes to Dharma practice, thinking, oh, I'll practice tomorrow, I'll practice the Dharma tomorrow, I'll practice the next day, kind of putting it off or having this idea that this is something we'll get to in the future. What counteracts that kind of complacency or laziness in particular, is the contemplation of impermanence. And then thirdly, once we understand impermanence, still and not knowing, when it is we'll die, how long we have. So impermanence and the imminence or inevitability of death. So this really counteracts kind of indifference, laziness, and procrastination. And then when thinking that not having this understanding of the real suffering that pervades all of samsara, the three realms of samsara, then we may think, oh, really, actually, samsara is really kind of nice. We can find happiness, we can find pleasure and well-being in samsara. Then to counteract that attachment to samsara altogether, we contemplate the suffering of samsara. And then fourth, to really make our life meaningful, the way to understand, with these other levels of understanding, then to really be convinced that we are going to use this opportunity well to accomplish what is truly meaningful, then we contemplate the fourth of the four thoughts that turn the mind, which is karma, cause, and effect, which brings meaning, which helps us to really make our lives meaningful. Lasso, conta.
단전 해 찐된 님볼에 신베된 아주다 토마데 단전 해바 가와 시아데다 된 아주 토마데 데와 된두다 되게 나라 다게 단전 텐산데 치네야야 니가베 다리 라메 장조지 공방 드롭데 신도자 스텐데지 소난도와 된두 다당 아란소게 된조 밀리름보체데 되네 징아란소 제왕 허마 아니 아란소 소소남 사바 아니제 소소남 야부지 사발레 티네 아니 다 아란소게 다 남행게 제베데 쳔데니라 티네 아란소 다 단조 다와제단 단조 조제단 덴베티네 밀리름보체데 톱샤바지레스.
So first, with the first contemplation of the difficulty of achieving a precious human rebirth with the leisures and endowments, in the text on page 17, it says, now that I have found a precious human body with freedom and connection, which will be difficult to find again, I must practice to attain the state of unsurpassed enlightenment for the benefit of others. And so understanding that this is incredibly rare to have a precious human birth with leisures and endowments, and it only could have come about through a prior vast accumulation of merit, because in former lives we must have really accumulated a great deal of merit, and that merit has ripened or manifested in the form of achieving in this life a precious human birth with the leisures and endowments.
텐드 다다당 아란소 텐저 밀리름보제 톱데반 데라 기인드마선 당 아란소 텐다니요 바로치 차기여바 찍데 아란소 가르스는 지왕 하마 소소남 사발데는 다다당 아란소 기 남해제 르데 톰드 네제 응네게 다 지왕 하마 아란소 데도 가레제 제샤바데나 쳔데게 르기 톨라제 뇽고요 반다오 지지 다티 블론다오지라 아니 찍데 아란소랑 긴트 쳔보지 가레요르스나 다 다대기 ngaranso 밀루름보체데 배주다네지 ngaran소게 다지 지와 치마라 간디 차기 여바시아데 다대기 ngaran소게 르기 톨라다 ngaran소 다다 ngaran소게 게접 디봉 간디 제바이나얀다 데 지와 힘 치마라 간디 차기 여바데다 ngaran소다다 하장겐 괜찮 첨버지요. 제와 치마라 가란서 간데 자기 외면데 가란서 다다게 소소게 다진 가란서게 주 게르블란더 지단다 소소랑게 다데게 되니 제 자주다 꿀홍라 뱀세베 델다나드는 가란서 제와 치마 간데 차고보다 란진기지 하고와장 괜찮요 바지 창고레스.
So this contemplation on the precious human life with leisures and endowments, there are two aspects to this that which are very important to really understand deeply. So one is that this situation, which is really favorable, in which we have a precious human life with the leisures and endowments, is due to our virtue, our practice of virtue in the past, because we have accumulated merit. And it is the merit that we have accumulated through the practice of, wholesome activities, good deeds of virtue, of body, speech, and mind that we have accumulated in former lives that leads to what we now experience, this favorable rebirth as a human being with leisures and endowments. And then the second thing is to have, based on that understanding, to know that it is our opportunity now with the supportive conditions of having a precious human birth in this life, that if we use it well, we'll continue to create those positive causes or accumulate merit and virtue, which then, through practicing virtue, through abandoning non-virtue, that will lead to favorable conditions in the future in our next life. And so that becomes very important in feeling really determined to use this opportunity, which is a product of so much merit and virtue, to further create merit and virtue through understanding what to practice, what to do, what to avoid, and really having pure intentions and practicing virtue with those pure intentions will lead to favorable conditions likewise in the future.
네, 당아서 다당 알아서라 달레데로 제발진지 더유도 되는 은혜게 알아서지 셈나라지 가와 제발지 제거바지 은혜게 제외바지리 은혜게 알아서 만복지게 지당 물루시야데 하장게 톱카보리 매게 르토바이나야 되는 제 은혜게 추 줌킨지당 추 조야게 고가위바지당 되는 은혜게 제 개비신이 제 체바다 얘네 산지기 땜반 지야데 하장 공부 차대로 담보 톡가와 얘네 제이더니 고갑들이 제 톡카보리 얘네 나란솔라 다다 밀리잠본 데라오 제톡 산지기 땜바야 지지요바 아니 개위신이 남바게 제 너네 추양 시제여바 남주 다바르시 켐보 추레 미세베든데 소야포 소난게도 제응원에게 깨와 상고제를 대나진 그 소소라양 추조야게 고갑지요바데 얘네 원에게 지 소데 쳔포인 삼지 소소게 인바데라 지 가와 체발진데 고고바데 몸에 개체보레스.
And so then, what is also especially important with this contemplation is that we have a deep sense of appreciation that arises, that we feel really joyful about our situation, that we really feel a sense of gratitude and appreciation. Because even though, so first of all, being born a human being is very rare, but maybe there are many people who are born as human beings, but then there's never any connection with the Dharma and throughout their life. And so to be born a human being, and then especially to be someone who has met with the Dharma and who practices the Dharma, who has met with qualified spiritual teachers, has received teachings, has entered the path of practice, and has these conditions or opportunities available to actually enter the path of practice is extraordinarily rare. So we're really in this incredible situation, having a human birth, having met with the incredible spiritual teachers we have met with, and Khenmo Rinpoche always speaks to this too, how fortunate we really are, and really feeling a sense of deep gratitude and taking joy in our own good fortune. That this is really important.
근데 다 알아서 가와 체발진지 곰네 짐센로데 가르레세도 다 알아서게 다되게 르나신 jiwa chima yang ngaran so le melu den da oji thop gi yeme de ha khoya yo marela ani pe mse pe ke thop khabo yimba dada de ne ji thop de wa de la gawa dan de ne yang ka ji thop gi yeme ha khoya ji yo marwa de de ani ngara so da de ke lu de ne ngone ke ji za chimbo ji da ge chimbo yimba ji de ji so so ge ha ko wa ji go yores.
So really having a very deep sense of appreciation, and understanding that, how valuable, how precious, how profound to have this circumstance that we have, in this life, and really then thinking, okay, we have this circumstance now, but for this kind of good fortune and merit to occur for us again and again, is really unlikely, and there's no certainty, that based on the fact that we have this now, that we'll have it again in the future, and so we really appreciate it now, understanding what an incredibly valuable opportunity it is, that is uncertain. It is not permanent, and that is uncertain if we will ever encounter such an incredible opportunity again.
Then da ngaran so ke da mi kidang ke mi mambo che ke mulu de ji za chim bo yin ba ji da de ne che mulu thoba de an de ne peju ya bo ji ta ma tham ne mulu de ne tholan ro ro ba then da ngaran so lu ne de che ya bo ji tho bo ka ya bo de ne che du de ne ngone thane ke ngaran so ke mulu de ani da thola man ro wa ani mulu ro bo che de ne peju ya bo ji tang go yores peju tang se de sambala 다 나저게 곰 냠네지 추 냠네 야고지 데네 쟁문에게 타바 탐제 진베게 람 드야라 냠네 칸 지톱게 된데게 냠네 제네 소소게 멀른데 아니다 추 냠네다 타바 토야게 지들라데네 랑 소소 라니 이나다 지나지 라니 타바 토야 진 심진데다 탐제라데네 제 핀 토야게 오네게 멀른데 배조 여바제다 멀르rum보 제데데네 오네 동단된 바 뭐체 동단된 바지 소소게 머세나 지보여봐 지나나치 핀토야 머세문에게 된다요바지 조고야도 빼면서 개침버렸어.
So, many people who have a precious human rebirth, that is really the result of great ripening of merit, don't necessarily know how to take use of that great opportunity. And so, if we don't use this incredible opportunity well, if we don't make the best use of it, then it becomes like a waste. And so, in order not to waste such an extraordinary, precious opportunity, then we have to be very determined to put it to good use. And the way to do that is through practicing the Dharma. So if we practice well, then we create the conditions not only just for the increase, the continual increase of merit and good fortune, but especially to create the conditions for liberation altogether. And so if we understand and have this sense of great appreciation, for our this precious opportunity as human beings, with precious human rebirth, and we use this as a way to bring benefit to others. If we practice the Dharma and we really focus on accomplishing the welfare and benefit of sentient beings, then we make this precious human life truly meaningful.
네, 다 아주 참리 다 나데지 물리자 진보지 톱송 선에 가와 단지 쪼와지 데네 문에게 소소게 추냠린지 다 요양도지 쇼르지네 지 물리자 진보지 임바지 임바데 징하란소 하 고위게 돈이 배주지 거마도 나 물리자 진보 단지 물리는 보지 톱송선 데데나 데네 핀토그 마레스 베나다 오당아 머리자른 침보지 톱선데 당에 산이 제고 나니 제고 제니 제고 딘데제 삼 데네 니마레레레게 뜻소든 로로고요레 데네 가란소게 당에 산이지 나니지 딘데제 엉아 멀리는 자 침보지 톱선 산 가와 검지 레르지 데데나 머체데 요고요고 론로고요 잔데네 데데 니마지라 가야 멀리름보지데 배주 가야 땅마도 가야 자와 만럽네 데네 오네게 니마지 다 Chiren de Sambala, oh, Tapesa song, San Jobachi, and then one tane ke chitavares, Denza, Tamune Kingaranso, Melurboche, the Pejutan, Chudriake, Kokamomate, the suit left the Yosa, and then one ke ta Palagoreta, Chiguneke, Peju, but the Takandazo, the kitchen poche redo, some widows.
So if we, on the other hand, just leave, if we just leave it at feeling a lot of appreciation and gratitude for the fact that we've achieved this precious human birth, and we have gratitude, but it doesn't go beyond the gratitude stage into a feeling of determination to make good use of this opportunity. Um, then we won't really we have to go to that next level of so first understanding how precious and profound it is to have this precious human birth with leisures and interments, really relishing, really feeling a sense of deep appreciation, gratitude, and joy in this incredible situation. But then if we have still that mind of procrastination that says, oh, tomorrow I'll get to it, the next day I'll get to it. And then day by day, our life is being exhausted. So we may have appreciation, we may have gratitude, but then we're not really determined to get to work. And so then this life, it goes by so quickly. It's exhausted so quickly. And then one day we'll think, I didn't do what I always intended to do. And then it will be too late. So it's so crucial that that appreciation then evolves into a sense of real inspiration and determination to use this opportunity now to really put this really rare and precious opportunity to good use and to do it without procrastinating.
Lordena, ta ngaranso tamchegi milirumboche tapsonsan gawaje gom. Dine da the gawate yebeke tone dine ngaranso tamchegi milirumboche den Lordena milirumboche de chola manrogaje ta sokoya de kechembores ndona de ta tenda dodo rawde.
And so in brief, we should all meditate, and contemplate in such a way that we develop this deep sense of gratitude or appreciation for the fact that we have this precious human birth. And then, in addition to that, to contemplate in such a way that we have a sense of urgency or determination not to let this human life go to waste.
Dine da nipate da ngazo nomle da lelu genyenpo tse madaba se de da ngazo madaba de kole shugin den de da ngaranzo tamje ji chu sanye ji nanye ji sina dine je ngone ke pe lelu ngane dine je lindo be yoza damjo mele rombo je de da ngone ngaranzo za chenpo de da thop dine thobaina ya dine lelu nganda dine je da sanye nanye chu do se de ke ngaranzo da kowe na da ji jaja mambo ji doya yorwa da ngaranzo dine ke ngane pa ji moche de je da je de so de nimare re dine je zon ro de da mo de dine je da 도서 탐지지 마다 배임바 템베기 치다데다 숨바 냠레다 안데네 레로님보다 마다 바템바 세야데 테슈야인두 데네 겔라데네 덴데제 손난도 다데 렌친 륜데양 칩다 데제 자단웨 남증이 바 마다에 다신 마다 촌데다 세덴데제 손난도 마다 담보 공원데 손샤인데라
And so then secondly, so the second category is to contemplate impermanence. This is to counteract that very common tendency for procrastination, for laziness, for sort of a complacency that doesn't really have a sense of urgency to really apply ourselves to Dharma practice. So to counteract this, we contemplate impermanence. And so so this goes hand in hand with an understanding of how precious, precious human birth. So I've achieved a precious human birth. And when there's a tendency to say, oh, tomorrow, the next day, in the future, that understanding impermanence then helps us to avoid that tendency. Um, and we all have that tendency, she said. There's so much that occupies our attention in our worldly lives. The activities of samsara are endless. And so we can every day get caught up in, this or that. But each day we're losing time. And every single day our lifespan is being exhausted. So this is why it's so important to deeply reflect on the teachings of impermanence and to become in such a way that we become determined to use this opportunity now to practice what we know we are truly capable of. So, as it says in the text, on seeing that the hostile Lord of Death may strike my precious life at any time, I shall consider the impermanence of others and myself.
다지당 맞아 다 무다바 지든데 손도 지단다 아란소 물리자 첨보지 탑도 요래 되네다 아란소 바야보 두스다운데 이네제 아란소 다다게 춘호긴 지딘스나야 단도 방 아란소 다다 네사긴 잡낸 디로지를 차촌 바이나 되네 오네게 베나 사염게 네체 요데바 얘네 대나진게 추인지 바요데바 얘네 대나진게 되네 제가 좀 미에게 되는 지 바요데바 얘네 대나진게 되네 제 롱긴지 바요데바 되네 텐트에게 당아 좀 눈체다 마다바란지 되네 가란소페 누긴지 되는데 가란소 네세게 사잔된 로이나 란진게 진 주라 차지네 지드로이와 당 가란소 탐체게다 제 지게 요르와스 대인도제 대나진게 양진 가란소 네세게 사잔로나지 야겐 투소나 야가다 지가게 투소도나 되네 쟁문에게 메도다 지신라서 바베 예동마던데 문에게 메탐지 예왕 초베게 된데지 용기도와 년지거든데 다 이나야야 군카단 근데 땡게 투소텔라야 란신게 코란 주와 차지네 대양 베 무세베지 신도에나 짜라란로차 신앙어제로차 되네 베나 사진나야 돈조 되네 베야 란신게 되는 주도 찬로이와 뜻소 사망 알아서 탐지게 지기요레스
So, generally, in contemplating the inevitability of death and the truth of impermanence, we start by thinking about the ways in which we see impermanence reflected in the outer environment. So there's the outer impermanence or the impermanence of the outer container, the impermanence of the world. And so we can think about that, contemplate this type of impermanence by calling to mind all of the different ways that we see and hear about change and destruction on like in the environment based on, say, the elements. So there we see and hear examples of this all the time. There are earthquakes, this destruction that occurs through earthquakes or through water, through hurricanes and different types of natural disasters that involve water, the destruction and impermanence that is displayed through fire, through forest fires and so on, and the destruction that it can occur through wind, tornadoes, and what have you. So there's this way of thinking about how the outer environment, which we tend to think of it as being everlasting and solid and impermanent, that it can just be, in a single moment, based on the power of the elements, can be wiped out and destroyed. Likewise, there we can see impermanence reflected in a more subtle way every day and through the passing of the seasons in our own immediate environment. We watch as, the seasons change one into the other, that spring and, changes into summer. There's maybe, there's the flowers are blooming and they're so beautiful, but they only last for a short time before they wither and die. And then, there's the changes that happen as we move into fall, and then in winter, when in fall everything dries up and the leaves drop and the trees drop their leaves, and then in winter we have things that start to freeze, and the trees are completely bare, and maybe there's snow. And so we see really on a daily basis the impermanence that unfolds out in the outer environment, just in the progression of the seasons. So we contemplate in this way too the impermanence of the outer environment.
ngaranzo roa miji le cha chombe na da je ranjin ge da chone ge da jinga zo ge ba ma cha ba de remjin juwan ro ge yo ba ene je te zo sama da mada be ge ranjin je da mada bar wa da sama ge na je ge je ngaranzo roa mi le cha chombe na ya de je da 남제 참이 답변은 알로 준준인 생아 시기 말해서 야지 민도와 나다지 시위지인데 하장 망보요 된기 요대 바르와 얘네 나란 솔직 sembo 내야라 지 튼진라고 대 하장 용용요 대바 얘네 집에 가시네 밤에게 코바나는 암 마게 조고나니 유대값서 정동기 가시네 찌차디 정동기 가시네 양지 름베름베다지 된대제네 개바 된 혼을 동그레스 연바데 된 조를 동그레스 야지 문도와 이미 시위지야 하자 망보리 가시네다 모다기 젬베지 모다 depujon 동게요레 가시네지 칼라 사기사기 정동게요레 가시네지가 니게 딱 가신 시위지 가시네지 주주라서 바다 만토라서 바돈 딱 간다장아라서 시위지야 하자 망보요데바 그래서 참말 안진데 가르쳐도르스는 뭐다바 차도르스.
So then we can turn our contemplation also to the impermanence of beings who inhabit these environment, or who inhabit the world, and how everyone is subject to impermanence. Everyone will die, and there are actually so many conditions that can lead to death. And there are actually relatively few, very few conditions that really support life. There's so many more conditions that can turn into like a potential cause of death. And we tend to think, that death happens like as it's supposed to, in order, or, oh, maybe I'm young and so therefore I won't die anytime soon. But this is definitely not the case. There are so many who die at a young age. There are many who die, their death can strike at any time, at any stage in life. There are some who even die in their mother's womb before they're even born. There are some who die just after they are born. And so there's no way of saying, oh, first, people live and to a ripe old age and then they die, because it certainly isn't that way. Actually, there are relatively, few people who really live to a completely, ripe, developed old age. Many die before that. And so when we think about the conditions, people die in car accidents, people die because of complete, even from eating food, different types of food, become the cause of death, or people die in their sleep. There's all sorts of sudden health incidents, accidents, and so many outer conditions that can very easily turn into a cause of death.
돈다 다당아랑서 응우스 통야에 바제 자가 펜션 발라이나레 돈바 침신 발라이나레 데나진게 나미지 파마분지게 나라이나레 데나진게 지 조보 조모 바로라이나레 따지 마마 참보요야 보요데 바다지 펜션 제와요 데바데 허드 발라데네 지 따지 소소게 튼진 다 소소근 데바데서 만럭되네 람산지 초바쇼지 문튼베차 데네 동해 삼지메 잡다 덴데 참데서 사마 란진게 코나 마다바데지 메다베게 란지 덴데지 레도아스 엔데다 제 아주 사마게 마다베게 주와 차기 요바당 근데 참마게 나랑 저기 통기 요래 니마 레레게 나는 나랑 저기 무슨 통되게 요래 다 얘네래 마음 팔지와게 그래서 참아 마다베게 그래서 참아지 통기 요래 나랑 하고 요래데 다 얘나야 그래서지 마다베게 라진 임바당 되네 주니 임바데 상노동히데 하장게 베 뇽뇽 차되게로와
Mhm. Wait, Igarela, conta.
다당아서 마다 바란지 임바데 나라서 님마 따바레지 나라서 탐지게 지게 요래 통게 요래
Mhm.
이나다데 마다베게 란지 임바 데네 나라서게 추니 임바데 살노탄케데 하장게 뇽뇽 차데 요래스
Mhm. Mhm. Um, and so we see evidence of impermanence all around us all the time. We can see, even on a global scale, nations that are allies suddenly flip and become enemies, or in our own communities, or even in a family, when things there's harmony in the family, and then suddenly there's discord, or among friends, someone is your a dear friend one day, and then something happens, there's some problem, and then friends fall out with one another. And so there's this very um, obvious kind of display of impermanence that's identifiable at all times, that where situations that were once, harmonious or peaceful or pleasant become the nature of suffering all at once. And this is the truth of impermanence playing out. Um, we see it directly. We see it directly, and we see it all the time. But even though we see this, we see it on a daily basis, we experience it in our lives. Everyone witnesses the truth of impermanence, but there are very few people who actually identify it as the truth of impermanence, even though it is witnessed at all times and it is everywhere. But to really actually see it for what it is rare.
tenchi ngaranso namju matabe ko la chune ji nyamle mana ta matabe ko la chune ji samno ji mata ombe ki kaps de la ta chuncha ro de khare yong kore su shibaina pena je pe ro je shibaina ta je lobda che mo kha ro da lobjo na ki de cham cham ta namju namja jun do la ji lobjo pe ta lobjo ki yize ke chai je jacha de thombo lengyo na ta nima je ke yize ke jacha de thombo je malen du de dunge ke hobdo bala ta ji ranshi jaya yin se ando
Mm.
데나 진게 제가 도보 도모라서 바지 남자 진도 참고에도 합도 발라지 카가 찬도 되냐 란시 자연스 양로다 다양 참잠라 mandang aran so lochon dinde de chi chamja pe na nasa kense dan chi nasa ta dinde ke nasa tukya dinde habda pala nawa chi amchi ke chira nasa dinde je na sha ta chira tusu shira je mdo ro ta dinde je song pe ka se dinde je namju ngaran so mata pa chune sa ko la son no chi tang ke me dinde yen za dinde pe de ko ta habda pala dinde chi dang khala gore ta nga lo chung jo je nasa dinde je 가르치는 나 고레스
Mhm.
가르치기 시 고레스 dinde je dhane chi ma to ha jang ke tung
Mm.
samji machaba de yongge yoba so sama kyoncha de kane yongre sin marang zo tu namja jyendo la mata pa dang chi marang ko lu de za chen bo je yin ba samno ma ko mata pa yin ba chi samno chune dang ge me de tini hob de ba ne so je jon de tini pe de hang sa chi ta ta kala gore nam kha de sala za zong ba sa de nam kha le ya par sum jo ro pe samji machaba de ne yongge yores
Mhm. And so the fault of not really paying attention to or identifying the truth of impermanence is that then when impermanence does what it does, and when impermanence manifests or displays itself, we are completely surprised or caught off guard. So, for instance, some people, some students, maybe someone who's a really dedicated, studious student, maybe in college, who just aces all of their exams. And they're used to that. They're used to acing all of their exams. But then maybe one exam, they don't get, 100%. they don't ace that exam, and they're just devastated and overwhelmed. And some people even want to kill themselves, when something like that happens. Or for instance, a couple, somebody is a couple, a boyfriend and girlfriend, are in a relationship, or there's a relationship and they're generally like happy and harmonious, and then there's a breakup, and then that breakup can be so overwhelming that people want, that maybe some people even commit suicide. Or somebody all of a sudden receives a diagnosis. The doctor tells them they're young, and the doctor tells them that they have cancer, and they get this news, and it's just absolutely devastating. They think, how can this happen to me? I'm young. I didn't, this can't, and they can't accept it. It's so overwhelming, and uh, so devastating, because there's this denial of the truth of impermanence. We were sort of depending on things to stay the same. We were expecting things to remain, one way, to be lasting and permanent. And so when there's not this, um, kind of sensitivity to the truth of impermanence, then our suffering becomes so magnified when we experience the truth of impermanence, and we're unable to accept, and it feels everything, it feels so sudden and so overwhelming, and like the sky is falling. We feel like we can't bear it. But when there is some understanding of impermanence there, these really difficult moments in life become so much easier to hold, to bear.
Ranso namju mutabe kola samno tang matang ki chiban ro je pe shuwaina ta namju jinda la namja jinda je mutabe kola samno tang dengin je ki mi ro je na ta mi de ki lapa la je mune ki ta nga zo pe rinthang chenpo ki jala je mi de ki ta je mutabe samno tang dengin mi de ki lapa la yo na hobdo bala te ki sala sawaina cha baina ya ko je hang sayan ro je dan je pe semna ne je ngamda ro je tende misi ke legi mari sam ko ra kan sin ko ta te ki mutabe sambar ta tinde ki tu jin de samno matang kin che na za chimbo ko so pe me se be za chimbo je chala je hobto ba sar sa wa na awula ke jaya dan chi ngune ke chi alo gore semna na ngam da shinan da chi pe ran jin ki so na lo sama chi chulo la dong ya chi ta tin me da be ke chi samno tang matang ke cheba tinde chi cham cham tinde chi yong ge ban ro je to tinde chi da ngaran so zo ro de chi madabe korte da chi ngazo shugo ya jimjen ro zo de kharesin ngazo madabe yimba de la chi tsu tamjen chi gor sta madabe res de ngazo sama dunge da o madabe re ja ta ngazo chu drom na chu mendo sa o ta chi ta sama shiji re sha se kare na ta che na chu mendo sam sam no tinje che koryang sam no lopa tin de tan ji yo mares madabe che o da madabe re ja kare che na ya chu mendo sam sa tin de sam no de madang ngazo madabe res shuya de madabe de yimba de ha ko dene ngaran so ke tuzu de zachim tuzu de da zachim boin ba jijine da mada bin ba ha ko wijila o da nga da tuzu de pe zachim bo de ya tuzu de tamzen da tamzen je dene chu juya da nyamne ji ya la dene tamzen je ne so so ke da ko da rani chu juya de so so ke je tuzu tamzen je ne tuzu chola ma da wa de so go yores.
So when we have this understanding of impermanence, like when we're used to identifying impermanence through, making an effort to notice it, to contemplating it, then, for instance, if someone holds a really precious object, like a really expensive, precious object, like a vase or some crystal thing in their hand, that's really expensive, and suddenly it falls and it shatters everywhere. Um, if somebody is not so skilled in, or not so, they don't practice contemplating impermanence, then that may be really upsetting to them. Their very precious, expensive thing shatters, and they are totally surprised and totally upset. Whereas, somebody who has a more deeper level acceptance of impermanence, there might be a sudden, they might be suddenly startled, but they're able to let go of it very quickly because they say, oh, this is just the nature of impermanence. Oh, what do I expect? This is natural. This is normal. Things like this happen. And so the point of reflecting on the truth of impermanence is not to become depressed, and to think, oh, what's the point? Everything's suffering, nothing's lasting, it's all so bleak. If we shouldn't contemplate in such a way that that's the result, that we become depressed about life, or we feel like there's no point, and we feel, really kind of uh, uh, we feel that there's really kind of this depression in the mind of how terrible everything is and how much suffering there is, that we don't want to have this kind of incorrect view. The point of meditating on impermanence is to then see things for what they are, and to know that we have to make good use of our time while we have it, that it isn't lasting. And so, with this understanding of impermanence, we can feel really inspired to practice the Dharma well, and to not let our time go to waste, to not waste our time. That's really the benefit of reflecting in this way on impermanence.
Penajin ta jengaranzo soso geji ta gao nyebo ji ta nami chimsi pinji ro ji ta ngazo ji samre ge ta ji nawa chawa ta trumala so chate ga ta khaji pe ngo dungye den de je pe chi ge yorwa ta ina de so ji jiya de chimsi ja ji sewa ta ji ngone ge den de ge ji yebe ge chimsi ge den de ta chi ge nang ge yore ta ina ya ngazo samna ya bo ji tang ba ina ta chirang ge 다 네바에나 다 동기미도 제 바이나 모네게 지 세와요 베게 짐세 치라 ngoy데나 데 펜도요 마르와 페나 지야 임바데 다 나야 임바데 콤마다 바레 도드메 바제레 다 치랑게 네바데레 펜바 쉬운 킹게 미데레 펜베게 자와지 가레 dro고 kirangi katsit sewa yobada na jingi zhongkengi mijena dela ji yar tabegi lamlan rotu yage susu ki katsit sewa yona dela dine ji nge dela pembegi jawa katsit ji droko dos katsit susu rang ngu dewa da ji dinde che dewa na sende inari pendo kanya yomari neba ji inaya oku ngu na ngu dewa na gala gore tadong simji zoya dan dine mato pento ya mewa inza kaji tamji mada pemba susu dane che sewa yore de ina yi sewa kasi yuna del pembege jawa doya da del je samno je tang del ro je ranjin je ro je chang ge dwa chang re.
And so also, sometimes it's the case that we have, that there's a loved one, maybe a spouse or a partner or a family member, parents who are sick, or who are dying. And then, as a result of that, of course, because we have love for them, then we're really devastated. We're really sad. We suffer a lot. We cry, and we grieve. And this is because of the love that we have. But if we really think about it, the other kind of effect of contemplating impermanence, that we should experience, is that it makes us more courageous in the face of these losses. So that, if someone we love is sick or is dying, if we really just cry and grieve, we're not doing anything to benefit them. And so instead of kind of attending to our own grief, we can actually be of benefit. We can actually help them. We can support them. We can help them with our practice of Dharma. We can help to guide them, on the path to liberation. We can help that process of transition for them be something that is really beneficial, that actually it helps them. But if we're really distraught and we're crying and we are only caught up in our own grief, then it becomes very difficult to help them to be of actual benefit. And so when we're able to really accept the truth of impermanence and be more courageous in the face of those situations of loss or tragedy or disaster, then we can actually be more clear-minded and capable of benefiting those that we love and other sentient beings.
Dada nga zo mada ba de da ngone chulo kurma chen ki ya shu de da mada ba ge lo de re mada be ge lo de nga ran zo ju le ya po ji ji ba na de ne ngone thane ge da nga ran zo ge chu nyam le chi ya la de ne ngone ge chu nam le chi ye ge lam la tri ge re kurma chi ye ge re khain se na nga ran zo ge mada be ge lo ngone yang da ba chi nga ran zo mada be lo de ju le chi ba na de ne ngone ge nga ran zo ge
It looks like she's frozen. Is it just me or for everyone?
No, it's everyone, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Stand by.
Okay. I'm going to take the opportunity to just go get more paper if that's okay.
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you.
As Khenmo has dropped, we'll just wait. I've messaged them, so I'm sure she'll be coming back on soon.
Oh, Kimola has to be unmuted.
Thanks, Virginia.
la so gong da da me da ba she she ni
So she said, so proof of impermanence, impermanence displaying itself.
la so da da gong ni shi ba de sin so la
Koma son gong da la
o la so
gayan
la so
sina che yorwa.
la so tene da nga zo me da ba ge nam ju se me da be de ngone ge chu lo ko ma chi ya de ya shu de re tene me da ba de nga ran so ju lo ya po che so na tene ngone ge chu nyam le ya po che cha ge re chu pa ya po che cha ge re chu nyam le ka re che na ya tene ngone ge rang lai na phin tho ba yin lai na phin tho ba che cha ge re ka se me da be ge lo de ju lo ya po che che mi na nam ju me da be ko lo sam na ya po che tang ge mi na tene chu nyam le che ba na ya tene ngone ge so so ge chu de so so ge sem ge ju la ngone ge so ri tho ba de yong ya pe me se be ge kha po 추바 데세 갈로고 추양 다반다 이제 차야데 데스 카포로 이제 요레스텐데 데네 마다베 콜레 양스 삼노타야다 데네 두수 담젠 치야데 데네 이제 개침보 데네 이제 랭아랑게 데네 이제 삼성스.
So if we really take the teachings of impermanence to heart and we really take care to contemplate impermanence well, to meditate on it in such a way that it really takes birth in our mind stream, this understanding, then we'll become really great Dharma practitioners. And we'll be able to benefit ourselves, we'll be able to benefit others. If we don't, if we practice the Dharma, but we sort of skip over this stage of, or we kind of disregard, we don't go deeply into impermanence, then it will be difficult for our Dharma practice to become really powerful or meaningful. To really actually practice true Dharma is impossible without an understanding of impermanence. So without, really deeply contemplating its impermanence in such a way that it really takes root in our mind stream, then our Dharma practice just doesn't go very deep. It doesn't go very far. We won't be able to really accomplish it well. So it's necessary to really attend to the contemplation of impermanence all the way through the path, throughout the entirety of the path. This is really a crucial aspect to the practice. Oh, she's on. You're Kimola Kogamendo.
다 시비 대화라 시바 감성 코와텔라 지다 대원 짐베게 님보 데네 코비 동해시다 코비 동해데 슈게 덴두다 ngaranso namjuda 감성 코와데 나나다 지 ngaranso게 다 ngaranso 데기 코와데레 지차베게 지라다 지 ngaranso 지왕 하메게 소소남 사바데네 덴 코안데라다 지 ngaranso 루 야포제 렌제네 지 요레데 이나야 ngaranso게 ranjin dungege ranjin roje dungege tendejita dungesumle dungeji dunge danjiwe dunge datin chaban duseji dunge soyangeta dungesumge ranjin tendeje chagi ores denduda koandele chichawe shogola ta ngaransoge ta koyo semjin tedage ji siban kamson koandela ranjinge ji jiboje dan teneje yaboje teneje ngunjen teneje namjo chige ores 이나야 ranjin ngoma samno tambaina 다 탐지지 다 동해게 ranjinji 차도레스.
So then the third contemplation, which becomes the antidote to being attached to the happiness or pleasure that can be found in samsara, is contemplating the suffering of samsara, the suffering that pervades the three realms of samsara, and the fact that suffering or unsatisfactoriness, difficulty and hardship pervade all the different levels of existence that are possible within samsara. And so right now we are in experiencing a really favorable lifetime where there's a great we have a lot of merit that has ripened, and that's why our lives are relatively, compared to other situations, free of really immense suffering. And yet still, even in our situations of having, a birth in which there's a great deal of ripening of merit, we still see the way that the three, or that the way in which our lives are also pervaded by hardship and suffering or unsatisfactoriness. So there are the three types of suffering that pervade all of our experience, the suffering, the suffering of change, and the all-pervasive suffering of compounded phenomena. And so as long as we take rebirth as a sentient being in samsara, wherever it is in the three realms of cyclic existence, we experience these three types of suffering. And there's no So even though there might be some temporary pleasure, well-being, and enjoyment that we currently experience, we still also can identify that there's a lot of difficulty, there's a lot of pain too.
라서 tenen dena dene sondo COVID-19 de karche cha debe ko ka manchi be sipe de la mata ba nyangin de be lam la jo denda che song yore ko an de le chi cha be shogo la ta ngone ke dewa thar top dende che yo mares dene ko an de gi na la dene dewa chunjung ye ba de la dene ngaran so ke cha shin cha che dende che na ya yo mares dene ngaran so ke ngone ke dewa ngoma de dene dada nga zo nyangin de be ke 공방 담바데 되는 거네 대화 탈도 되는데 되는 가란 속에 되는 냥에 대바다 타바 탐제 진배 람 토야라 되는 추냠네 제네 람네 조고레스 냠네 제네 다 배존 제된데 진조고레스 송바르와.
And so, as it says in the text, and now we're on page 19, it says, wherever in samsara one is born, true well-being cannot be found. I shall therefore turn away from the worldly pleasures and enter the path of nirvana. So once we have taken birth in samsara, there is no ultimate lasting happiness to be found anywhere. And so what happens is that, there is an attachment to, really small amount, a small happiness or small pleasures. But there's no real lasting happiness. And so the only way to achieve that lasting, unchanging, really transcendent happiness is through the path that leads to liberation and full awakening.
Pena ta koana dena chi chawe jo dungye yimbe ranshin de ngaran soge ta chi tadan thon shimbe ke pena ta trangbo de so laina tene che tholo khem je me ba tene saya mebe ke dungye desa mebe dungye simro tene pena tene chupo de so laina chi ki panjo phusum choba ji yo ba yena ya tene che ta sem na la shenang ta ane che ngamdra ta pena ta che chupo de so khorang le so le ya chu se che lemne ta che Ngondro ke namba che chane tene pe ta Quran so ke chosen ro da tene che yungre sambe tene ke semje da ta Quran so ke junor de song ma tha be ke ta che kange da dungye tene semna la tene shena da ngamra tene ke ngane mase den ro ko yan ro dena shin ta mi khaje ne che na be ke dungye ane khal tene ke ta che dungye na ba nga choba tene che de ngaran so ke ta thong da thong shi ba tene che res den de sambala ta Quran de ke na ne che sa be shogola 문에게 대화 양 답하던데 제 매화되다 말한 적에 하고 요레스.
That's So we see, once for those for being born in samsara, no matter what the circumstance is, there is some form of suffering or another. Even in the human realm, we see this. For instance, there are those who suffer from poverty, like, maybe some who are beggars, who don't have enough clothes to wear, they don't have enough food to eat, and they suffer, from having such a basic lack of, their needs being met on such a basic level. And yet, then there are some who are very wealthy, very rich. They have everything that they need. They live maybe a very luxurious life, but they have a lot of mental and emotional hardship. They have worry, have anxiety. They're, caught in like competitiveness. They worry about hanging on to their wealth. They worry that someone who is richer than them will come along. And so there's still not any real satisfaction or happiness, even, in having all of one's material needs met. And then in addition, everybody usually experiences in some form or another the suffering of illness, and during their lives. And so we can see that there are actually, many different ways in which, that suffering takes so many different forms and that it's really inescapable in samsara.
라서 테네타 아주 지 동해레 슈데데 삼발라 지 tis kare la kore ta sendu ka senare jikta ji 고대나지 무대와지 요래 되네 오늘 제나 동해 인바데 가서 하고 고야 돼 뺏게 머리 만보지기 동해 이나 인바데 하고 요 말로 동해 인바데 하고네 되네 니바데 오다 가서 동해데 간제지는 매바지고도 안에 동해 되게 종사대 가와네 중고도 대인상 동해 코란된 제비차되로와 동해대 용사대 가네 용고도 당 아주 동해대 간제지는 매바서고도 딘제지 삼노 다운데 되네 당 알안 속에 동해기 용사대 줘대 안에 아주 동해대 가서 당 아주 용용바 군종스야 되와 군종스게 짜와된 아주 단전리 도차 시당 뚜몽 아자도 소인데 다 말한 속에 가르치고 있는 추냠내야 보지 제네 다 말한 소로 줄을 예배게 코베심지 줄을 예배게 단전 뉴몽바데 칼레 파 메와서고도스 데 메와즈바나 란진기 동에데 용용으로 로고도스 어떤데지 삼노지 코고 요레스
So, so we say, oh, suffering, suffering. But it's really important to recognize suffering and to recognize it for what it is. Many people don't even recognize suffering. They don't recognize suffering as suffering. So first we have to actually accept the truth of suffering and recognize suffering for what it is. And then we have to say, okay, why? First of all, how can we alleviate suffering? Truly, and what is the source of our suffering? What's the true source of our suffering? And when we start to like really identify, based on first acceptance of the fact that there is suffering, and then identify what is the real source of this suffering, what is the real cause, and we see, when we identify the source of suffering, the origination of suffering, being the mind of self-grasping and the three poisons, then we have a method to alleviate our suffering. So as we work on diminishing the mind of self-grasping, diminishing the afflictive emotions, as we have success in our practice and we see the afflictive emotions diminish, we also see that there's less suffering, that there's directly suffering is directly related to the afflictive emotions in the mind stream, that this is the true source of suffering.
땡도 다 아주 동해 존사데 뉴모 인자다 뉴모 단전 때는 아주 삼노 단전 단전 때다 알아서 탐지 샘게 남도게 된데 제수샤 바마도 돈데 뉴모 단전 시야지 코랑게 랑외네지 첩대바지 멤바데다 탐지 샘게 점조단 생아란서 그 샘베게 되제 조 되는 알아서 동해 냥게 바된데 제 하고 되네 동해 딱 아주 뉴바 코랑 란신 빼나다 시단로 이제 차천바이나 시단제 지엠베 값을라 tenga zo ke shedang ke ranjin te le koran te de ba na tene shedang koran ya tene ranjin ke ngo de chupa ranjin ngo chupa je mi de tene shedang koran ya ranjin ke sem ke ranjin ke de la pa tem ro ge wa ten da wo ge tene nyumong 탐지 da ran re ko nyumong ke ngo de ta ngaran zo ke nyumong nam do de da 탐지 ko sem ke nam do ndra ma da ge te nga zo tene je ma do be ke nyumong ba ranjin je chho de ba me za tene da da 산지 좀 된 데긴 데네 송 요라 아니 다다 ngaran zo 대도 탐지에게 짜와데 되는 가랑 쪽에 샘라라 레바레스 샘데 뉴몽 버완다 차나 되는 가랑
대두 탐체 공다 기 대두 탐체기
대도 탐지에게 짜와데 되는 샘라 토고레스 에나 샘 뉴몽 버완다 차도 되는 가랑 소란신 동해 차고레스 샘 코란 란신 뉴음다 베나 남도 탐지 샘게 당아주 촘초임바 하거나 되네 남도 텔레 로스 줘봐 샘메 바지 하고 샘네 로스 줘봐 남도 메와지 하고 온도 되네 오다 돈 뉴모시아지 카카 되네 가란 속에 지 동해시아지 카카 메와 아니 란신기 탐지 샘기 촌로임바 하고나 되네 아주 란신기 뉴모도 소이나 지 파얀 레하른 로고레스
and so the mind of self-grasping and the afflictive emotions are nothing other than thoughts and the mind. And so there's really no real substance to them. There's no real entity to it. If we look at, there's not this thing that is like this entity of self-grasping or this entity of affliction that is self-existent from its own side. It's created by the mind itself. And likewise, suffering is a product of the mind itself. So we can see that when we really identify that, we have so much independence. Because if, for instance, when anger is present in the mind, and if we look at directly at the anger itself, we see that there's really no essence there. And in seeing that lack of essence, it dissolves. And all of the afflictive emotions are this way. The afflictive emotions are nothing other than thoughts in the mind. And so just like the Buddha has said that all happiness and suffering, the root of all happiness and suffering is the mind itself. So, for example, if that weren't the case, if it were that there was some, independent entity of afflictive emotions or independent entity of suffering, then we wouldn't be able to control it. We wouldn't be able to change the experience. But because it isn't anything other than the mind itself, then it can be liberated. Suffering can be liberated. The afflictive emotions can be liberated. So knowing that there isn't a separation there, then it becomes very easy to overcome those mind states when they arise.
땡도 당아서 되진데 소소 등에 바 하고나데 남주 쟁아란소 아다 개적 대봉 베나다 쟁아서 잠바다 닌제 잔주고 셈 베나진게 되네 되진데 가란소지 세바잠보치야 다 대소지 남주 소소게 되네 근데게 다 제주 냠네 간투도 제거야 되네 배 개천보지 되네 제 자기도
And so this is also, developing the qualities that are the opposite, that are the antidote, like, continuously cultivating love and compassion, continuously cultivating bodhicitta, really, nurturing the good, a good heart, trying to have a genuinely good heart. And practicing the Dharma in all the ways that we do. This is why, it is so important.
짐승이 가르스나 코안데 동해 란지를 시슈대안도 짜완도데 가와토도 요르스나 코안데레 동해 란지인바 하고나 지랑 코안데레 탄두게 로지 지행고래 탄두게 로데 지행데 되는 오네게 추조야게 다 고가비야 신로지 차도요 잔데네 동해게 란지인바데 어딘데지네다 송 짐승찌가 데레제 레도스
Because the reason for again cultivate or contemplating the suffering of samsara, of understanding that samsara is the nature of suffering, and with that deep understanding, then there is the incentive, the inspiration to get free of that suffering, and that becomes the inspiration that really motivates us in our practice. And then through our practice, we actually achieve that purpose, which is overcoming, undoing the root of suffering or overcoming the causes of suffering.
땡도 다 짜완도데 가르스나 산지 좀 된데 다 딕바 가드유나야 지하요 말레스 마조게 가드유나야 되네 개와 간존럽 제거레스 되네 쪼데다 나란소게 되네 소소라니게 셈데 되네 간토토 그치 시돌 바요다 되네 제 잠년제 잔주 셈데서 고미아데 피미세베 개침보레스 랑게 셈네 용선더스 되네 땡모마게 산지게 되네 제 템바이난다 되네 나란소게다 오네게 타도게 톱고ян다고데 땡차도레스
So as the Buddha has said, it really this is the very root of everything. The four lines, that come or the three lines that come from the Buddha, to not do even a single wrongdoing. So to not engage in any negativity at all, and to practice take every opportunity to practice virtue and to completely tame our own mind. This is the real meaning of the teachings, of the Buddha's teachings. And so to whatever extent that we can, always applying the teachings and working with our mind in such a way that we are actively practicing, cultivating mindfulness and awareness, being, cautious or heedful in our activities, and cultivating the positive qualities of love and compassion, practicing virtue to the best of our ability, and really avoiding non-virtue, and essentially taming our own mind. This is really the essence of, the path altogether.
맞아. 다데 다다랑 저 레짐레스야 다 슈야인 다아저 단조 류데 동요 발차베기 쳇데 레짐레 삼바 송도와 덴두 다아저 데게 베샤나네 단조인데네 돈덴치 녀모 도섬 메게바 게벨레람 베바치 고섬 담식 돈바송 선대제 송난도와 덴두 다하란소 단조 물르름 보체데 문에게 자첸보데야 톱요레 대나진게 다치 단전 물르름 보체데 되네 직 자첸보지 톱요레 되네 물르름 보체데 하장게 되네 직레 하보레 되네 가르스나 마다베게 직도데 가서 물르름 보지 자첸보 톱바장 핀토고 말하단 마다바란신데 되네 마조 카디션로야데 하고야요 마레스 대인도 되네 아주 더 시위값인데라 마란소게 주본데 종칸나신지로와 남시된 종포나신지레 대인도 아주 시위질라 루데 자는 로고요레 당 아란소 시비가슬라 오네 펜토 요와지데 쿠르제데네 아란소게 아니 게와 제샤베게다 게베게레 코나든데 자기요레스.
So then we have the fourth of the four thoughts, where it says on page 20, to make this life of freedom and connection meaningful, I shall abstain from all misdeeds resulting from a mind afflicted by the three poisons. I shall diligently strive in cultivating virtue and shall protect my vows and my samayas of the three doors. So here again, we going back to the first, where we really have this understanding of how rare and precious it is to achieve a human birth with leisures and endowments. But it's also it's so ephemeral and so easily lost. It's easy to destroy. There's no stability there. There's no guarantee, how long it will last. So just having achieved this human birth isn't of any benefit. But then knowing that we will die, and at the time of death, our mind will continue on, and our body will be left behind. Our body is like a guest house. Our consciousness is like the guest that just temporarily inhabits the body. And when we die, what will be of any benefit at the time of death? The only thing that will be of benefit is the karma that we have accumulated, during our lifetime, all of the virtuous karma that we have accumulated. That is what is of true benefit at the time of death.
대인도 당 아란소 당아조 데다 소소게 단디게 레짐레스야데 당오네게 뻬미세베게다 마란소게 추냠네게 다지 주바야보 차다 마자스야다 다지 오네게지 냠네야보 차다 마자스야데 소데다 고 레짐레게라 이치유메다 레짐레데 오네게 소진 소마송다 텐더라지 통게도와 김제 가레스나 당 아란소게 롱아 예솜데 지당 오네게 게베게 람라데네 제 침바이나 데네 제 드웨야 데네 오네게 두다 남바군도 드웨야 데네 제 데브란신 제다 무지 지보용야 제 소소라데 가레 해나야 제 드롭데 반다오 제 용고요레 데네 가란소게 제 롱아 예솜데 아네 제 머게베게 람라 친솜바이나 두다 남바군도 소소라지 대완 되바다 동해 민두나야 라신 게 동해 단지 짬시와다 나차단지 가레나야지 용대 안로 때 조대 가서는 지 le mege we chebe ke tin driver ran shin ji jobe yo ba da tin de wo je chang gwe re
And so, so the whether, really understanding, really believing in the truth of karma, cause and effect, is so important. This is what really determines the quality of our Dharma practice. So what is it, that really kind of reflects where we're at as Dharma practitioners, how to identify, whether someone is really a good Dharma practitioner or not, is primarily, and like, to what level does one, or do we really believe in karma, cause and effect? To what level is there real we the real dedication to uh, practicing virtue with body, speech, and mind, and avoiding non-virtue with body, speech, and mind, because of this really deep understanding of the reality of karma, cause, and effect. If that is there, then that really is a sign of the maturity of one's Dharma, practice, the level of one's Dharma practice. If we know and really believe, then again and again, we're going to take every opportunity to accumulate positive karmic seeds, to practice virtue. And we're going to take extreme caution to avoid non-virtue. If, on the other hand, we might think that we're practicing Dharma, and we might have this expectation, for happiness and well-being. But if we again and again continue to be at the mercy of our afflictive emotions, and again engage in non-virtue, then even though we might wish for or expect happiness, again and again we'll be confronted by suffering and hardship. And that is the inevitability, based on the truth of karma, cause and effect.
la so de ne jwan ji din sum jing gon bu tin de je song na do le jim de la yi chi je song na de ne nga zo ge ju xian me ji kha da yang zhen bo da tin de je song do da pe na le jim de la yi chi ya bo je den gen ji mi ji la o chirang ge dik pa ji ji yo ma re da chirang ge ge wa ji go re sin kha da khara lob so je wa de da si zima ro pin do men jo ro cha ro re jim sin khare re sin na pha lu ge me de le jim de la ko le jimdege namja de yapo uchi korang ge yichi je le jimdege namja de korang ge yapo lalin terge uza den rawo ge midela chira gewa drop gores dipa pang gores ni she goya korang yo mares kan se korang ranjin ge chira bede de dipi le de maje na chira ge sigi sena ya midege korang ge kala goreda kalanta dipi le de zawani chigi mares den sa den de ki milata lapja ja go mares o den de je song da le jimde de pe mise ge chen boy be jimsin rawo jere do.
And Lord Jigten Sumgun says that someone who really has confidence in karma, cause, and effect doesn't need to be instructed in it, because it is natural. So, for instance, if somebody really believes in karma, cause, and effect, then they don't need to be told, oh, you need to practice virtue, and you need to avoid non-virtue, and this is the way to practice virtue, and this is the way to practice non-virtue, because that person is so completely clear from the depths of their being, that is the only thing that they can do, because they know it so deeply. And it happens naturally. There's no need, and for such an individual, if they were to be instructed to do anything other than virtue, or to not do something that is virtuous, they would not be able to do that non-virtuous thing, because there's such a deep understanding there.
다 대인도 다 알아서 다지 맞저 시위 값은 로지나 다 알아서게 소수게 레 개와다 메게와 가리 제자와 되는 정문에게 살아야 행기 말이지 돌아야 행기 말이지 아주 내 가르 제자와데 소소게 나랑서 니만한 들어와이나 아주 소소 주보게 좀 나대 나랑서 가한 로나 용기도 와스 pe te na jing ge ngarang so ge gede ge le khare che sha win je te ngarang so so ge chewa dene chewa chima kawan rowa ina ya le ge te le ge wa che ne ge win je we me ge we che ne me ge win je we te ko do de me pa ta kanda yin la me me pa so so ran la den de che ne yung ge yo res o den de che song nang ge do ra.
So when we die, the only thing that will follow us at the time of death are our karmic imprints, the positive and negative imprints that we have created in this life. And we will have to experience the ripening of our own karma. Once we create karma, whether positive or negative, it can't ripen on something else. It won't ripen, it won't like dissolve into the earth or go into like a stone or something. When we die, it will follow us, just like when we walk in the sun, our body has a shadow. We see our shadow follows us wherever we go. And so the imprints of karma are said to be like that they really follow the consciousness wherever they go, just as a shadow does. There's no way to avoid or to separate or to undo karma once it is created. It inevitably the ripening has to be experienced by the one who has created it. It can't be transferred to someone else.
Then do that te jin de ngarang so ge ge wa kan tu tu chi kan thup thup ge dvya da dene chi ngarang so ge tikpa de kan thup thup chi pang kan thup chi thup chi go ya de pe mi se ke chen bores then do sanje ge da ko ne shu be ge dene tikpa khadyu na chi ayo mares dene ge wa khadyu na kan thup thup chi go res dene so de ta nga so ge de ni chi ge le thu sa so de rang ge sem de res then de ta domba tam se so ya ena ya da do ane ngaran so ge che gede ge che le palan chi ya na yan da do dene thamje ge zawa de dene che susu ranye ge sem de song de ba ina dene ngone thane ge da gede landor ge chujin de dene che chagi yores de da rem rang ge sem so ya de pe mse be ge ge chen boyin ba dene che susu ge chu dene kan tho de che kan tho chu de na na ba gen de drop ya de da dene che res.
And so understanding this, then, we really feel motivated to do our very best, to the best, like the best that we can, to practice virtue. And we do our very best, to avoid negativity, to avoid non-virtue, and to uphold, the Buddha's instructions, to avoid even a single wrongdoing, no matter how small, and to really take every opportunity to create virtuous seeds, or to take up virtue, no matter how small, and all virtue and non-virtue, like the point of its origination is in the mind. So as we work to tame our mind, to purify our minds, then this ensures that we will be able to act in a way that is wholesome with body and speech, and to avoid what is unwholesome, because the root of it all is in our own mind. And so that's where it begins, is with intention, with the quality of one's own heart and mind. So then we can work to develop the beautiful qualities of the mind, to whatever extent we're able.
Laso dan dene mara thumong mayin be ke hundo ji shiba de shuayin den de thumong mayin be ke hundo ji den do jena da de thumong mayin ba ji go ya ke jimsin karsana thipa thumong ke hundo chagi wa maren de da sabji nga den ke hundo yimba ma je be ke de da saha do ji de be ke da ji chu ke nyam len ke hundo de chagi yore den de thumong ke hundo de chagi wa mare de misi da thumong mayin be ke hundo de chagi yore ba den zang da mo mayen beking hundo de ane jamdo dang dene dada menjar dorsem dene laminam jers oda namba jiderwa den du da jidange nga zo jamdo kapsin rawo jena da jamdo de ta pe mse be ke khe chenpo chagyo ra ta namba lanje ke chengyo re ane je jamdo de namba sanje be ke jine tenpa lan joya ke gondra de tene ke nga zo jamdo de chagyo ra ten de tene jamdo de jikta khe chenpo yin be jimzen ra de ta che nga zo namba sanje be ke ngoma cha da ma cha de che konjo somla jine che japsen ro ma ro tene che tende che chagyo re ten de ta konjo somla japsen ro war che bala tho마 개 제주도 가르치고 그래서는 매드 말어와 개 제주도 제 오늘 점도 가서라 대바지 요거 봐대 대바지 건조 숨게 연대게 되네 제 쳔베고네 대바에 수진데 대바야 보지 마제나 되네 건조 숨게 건조 숨시야 돼 간데 임바지다 건조 숨게 연대데 하고 그 말이 되는데 토마들 대바야 보지 요거 봐대 꽤 개진 보레스
That concludes the explanation of the first stage of the preliminary practice, which are the four uncommon preliminary, or the four common preliminaries. And then next we move into the common preliminaries. So the reason for this distinction, so the common versus uncommon. So what is meant by common with the four thoughts that turn the mind is that this is common to all vehicles. So Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana. But the uncommon preliminaries, they're called the uncommon preliminaries because they're not actually common to all vehicles. So they're unique to Mahayana, Vajrayana because they become the preliminaries to the secret mantra practices. So these preliminaries in the context of the Fivefold Path of Mahamudra. So these four uncommon preliminaries are refuge, Vajrasattva, Mandala, and Guru Yoga. And so when we first practice refuge, it's what is most, this refuge becomes really like the entry point to these to what comes, all that follows, all of the practices that follow. Just in the same way that when we take refuge, that this is like entering the door of the Buddha's teachings. This is what gives us access to all of the to Buddha's practices. So it's for this reason, refuge is so important because it really is like the entry point, the doorway. That's what refuge itself is, what makes us a Buddhist or a non-Buddhist. So what also qualifies refuge, whether one really has the mind of refuge or not, or practices refuge genuinely or not, depends on whether there's faith in the mind or not, faith towards the real genuine faith in the three jewels. And so in order to have faith in the three jewels, we have to understand the qualities of the three jewels. So when there is real understanding and contemplation of the qualities of the three jewels, then naturally we develop a mind of faith. And so that is what really qualifies that mind of refuge is having a mind of faith, which is based on an understanding of the qualities of the three jewels.
드네 지단게다 ngazo koncho somla japsen somba na tene pheon samje macha patende che yo so sombare ase zongro che na tene che namkha khando ya tene son ta che koncho som japs somme ke che pheon de che tene ngone ke che te sonam rawo de la che ase zongro che me ke toya yo na tene namkhe khando ya ke tene ke ta che pheon ja chen bo che yo so sombare da ngaran so ke koncho somla japsen dro bo ya ke jimsen rawo de kare cha ang kore na ngazo kamson ko semje tamje dunghe ke ranshin ba de ha ko 다 동해 대래 되네 제 탈고도 삼들 로제 제음도 다 동해 대래 쪽 탐기게 되네 제 오늘 그치 감성 코에 동해 대래 쪽 탐기게 네바 되네 제 오늘게 권초섬나 마도 문도 삼백게 소소게 이치당 대바제 제음도 되네 오늘게 권초섬게 제아 연대당 되네 권초섬라 잡선 로 고ян로데 오다티 차교레스
So when we take refuge, the benefit of that, the power of that is so vast. It's so immense, the power of that mind of refuge. It's said that it's so immense that if it had form, it would even like outfill the expanse of the sky. So all sentient beings wish to be free from suffering, all sentient beings of the three realms. And the kind of connection or hook for that liberation or freedom comes or begins with the mind of refuge. So if there is the longing for freedom, then we have to have someone who can provide protection and freedom for us. And so that source of protection is the three jewels, that source of refuge. There's no one who can provide true refuge or protection from the suffering of samsara other than the three jewels.
Dene che simjin tamje chop thoyagin chembe ke yishi yoba hago dena jinge zebe ke je ta ro simjin tamje je o ko dungye da tamje thugje dan je pe ningje zewa ningje chembo je sta ko jilo yoba ngazo hago dena jinge dene ro simjin da tamje ko dungye ke jamso den chop nebe ke thodan neba yeba je hago ndu dene konjo song le japsen ro yore den du dene ngazo 다지 koncho sum de la yana yang tene che dada ngaran soge kam de tene je bege da che ngaran soge sanji koncho de tene ngaran soge lam tomba bo de cha de yore tene da nga zo chu koncho de tene ngaran so covid dunghe de le mus chom khen de cha ge yore tene da gendem koncho de tene nga zo khowa ge da dunghe jam zo de le ya chik ngi rokwa ching de o da tende che cha de yore.
And so the three jewels provide protection. So first of all, there is the refuge, taking refuge in the three jewels, and in particular the Buddha. Then there's the understanding that, first of all, there is omniscient wisdom. And through that omniscient wisdom, the power or the ability to protect. And secondly, there is vast, immeasurable, unconditional compassion. So really perceiving the suffering of beings in samsara, there's immense there's all-pervasive compassion and loving compassion for sentient beings. And so the sentient beings who are drowning in the ocean of suffering, the three jewels have the power to protect sentient beings from the suffering of samsara. Through that connection, that is how liberation is achieved. So there's the first jewel is the jewel of the Buddha, who is the guide, the one who we rely upon, or the example, the guide, and then the Dharma, which is the path, and then the Sangha, which are like the companions, our companions on the path.
라서 다 파체 가서 대수 저희가 대수 때 파체 만tra संसार 공개 메비지 안테네 계전나마 뱀세 가든지 토시시나 사마 넘발렌지 사마 토시시 가든지 되네 산이지요.
So it looks like we are, now toward the end of our time together. So Khenmo would just like to say thank you to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will continue with these teachings tomorrow.
되네 아주 되게 좋라다다. Dedication 가시지 라서 on this 송난김베.
So she said, sorry, we left off before some of the dedication for the practice. So then, so we can pick up with the dedication section.
Okay, if you would like to continue, thank you, Khenmo.
Khenmo la chi ngoa dong gerwala.
Medo la dorje samba nga zo da namje taban dongge ra ma che wan dong sha gora.
So the beginning with, is it Vajrasattva that you
Shodan dunje donga re sha.
Dunshin Dunga on page 75?
In 63 on the,
63.
the Zoom. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Medo dorje dabje ye she ne me me she ra yom je ngang de do toje je ra na zo je yang do dorje samba che la chang za lo om be zara sa do hong 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 om be zara sa do a be jar sa wa 84. 德贤特德杰德贤，三万阿杰中真求，德给马连东杰巴，多杰真拉强扎尔多，om别扎巴内红，om别扎巴内红，om别扎巴内红，om别扎巴内红。Home beds are be home 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 beds home beds are be gewan de anyor da sawe da bon drip jiro je trowa che jamale de salang go bar sho simje ne ba jinye ba nyor de ne le ta jo je trowe ne ne malo ta den jong wa me ba sho simje ne ba jinye ba nyor de ne le ta jo je trowe ne ne malo ta den jong wa me ba sho chan jo sum jo rom bo je ma je ba nam je jo je ba nyam ba me ba kon ne kon de pe wa sho tu je chen na men je sama.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Khenmo, so much for your beautiful teaching. Virginia, for your beautiful translation. And Sherab and Pauline were also online on our Mandarin and Vietnamese channels. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sangha, for joining. And we'll continue tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Bye, everybody. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
Kamala.
And Sangha, thank you. Have a beautiful
Evening, Chef. Thank you, Tsechik. Thank you, Virginia. Cheryl, Pauline,
Thank you,
Sangha.
Khenmo.
Thank you, Kamala. Thank you, everyone.
Irma Surya.
老师说。
谢谢翻译老师。